Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 13, Greed. Linley was currently walking outside the door. His power had risen after the ancestral baptism, so naturally, he was quite happy. "He's calling for me." Linley, hearing the shout, couldn't help but be puzzled. However, Linley still turned to look behind him, only to see the bald elder's face was completely red, and even his eyes had turned scarlet. The man now looked like a rapacious wolf. Linley couldn't help but grow cautious, while at the same time, he opened his mouth and spoke, "Elder, please let me know what you need." "Emmanuel, what's going on?" the handsome youth said. "What's going on?" Only now did Emmanuel awaken from his excitement and regain his clarity. His face returned to normal, and he looked at Linley in front of him. In his heart, he knew, the appearance of the azure dragon ring of the ancestor cannot be made public. "I can't let this Garvey learn of this." Emmanuel was a member of the Assembly of Elders of the Azure Dragon clan. He himself was a fourth-generation member of the clan, and had lived for countless years. However, in terms of status, quite a few members of the Azure Dragon clan were higher than him. If the appearance of the ancestor's Azure Dragon ring was made public, there's no way it would become mine. Emmanuel's thoughts whirled about in his mind, and then he made up his mind, laughing coldly in his heart. Fortunately, this Garvey had never met the ancestor, and doesn't know what the Azure Dragon ring looks like. Their ancestor, the Azure Dragon, as a sovereign, naturally didn't meet very often with his descendants. In the Azure Dragon clan, only the sons and daughters of the Azure Dragon, those second-generation members, were very close to the Azure Dragon. The third-generation members had met him a few times as well. A few fourth-generation members had met him as well. As for the others, only a very few genius-level clansmen had been granted an audience by the ancestor. Garvey had never even seen the ancestor. Naturally, he didn't recognize the coiling dragon ring. After all, those who joined the Assembly of Elders had reached the 7-star fiend level, but that didn't mean they were born very early on. "Emmanuel, what are you thinking about?" Garvey asked. "Oh. There's something I wish to discuss with Linley," Emmanuel said with a laugh. Linley couldn't help but grow puzzled. "I've never met him. What does he want with me?" "If you want to chat with him, then just chat with him here." Garvey laughed, but Emmanuel shook his head and said solemnly, "Garvey, I have something very important I wish to discuss with Linley." "Garvey, please go back on your own for now. Let me speak with Linley alone." "Not only do you want to chat, you want to chat with him alone." Garvey was rather curious now. Emmanuel couldn't help but frown. "Fine, fine." Garvey laughed. Since Emmanuel had made the request, it wasn't convenient for Garvey to persist. "Then I'll head out first." "Right, Emmanuel. We need to have a good discussion regarding the upcoming visit of the Indigo emissary. I'll wait for you outside the hall." "Hurry up." Emmanuel immediately beamed. "Fine. I'll just chat right here in the hall. After I'm done, I'll immediately come out." "Right." The handsome youth, Garvey, grinned towards the puzzled Linley. "Kid, work hard. I'll be waiting for you to join us in the Assembly of Elders." As he spoke, he left the private room, closing the door as he left. Humph, humph, now that Garvey is gone, the ancestor's ring will be mine." Emmanuel couldn't help but feel excited. As he viewed it, this Linley was just a god. Even if a god had a soul-protecting sovereign artifact, Emmanuel could use a material attack to kill Linley. Naturally, he would then acquire the sovereign artifact. "Linley." Emmanuel smiled in a very warm, friendly manner. "Elder." Linley was highly suspicious. Why did this person want to speak with him alone? As the saying went, men of talent were men of courage. Linley had fused 3 profound mysteries and fused with the Black Stone, and was very formidable to begin with. After the ancestral baptism, his one and only weakness, soul defense, had been improved upon significantly. He had no fear of a 7-star fiend. Naturally, he was able to face this Emmanuel calmly. Crackle, Emmanuel immediately set up his god realm, surrounding the entire private room with it. Linley's face couldn't help but change. "Elder, what are you doing?" Emmanuel just smiled. "The conversation between us is very important. That's why I set up my god realm, to prevent others from eavesdropping. Elder, might I ask what matter you have to discuss with me, Linley?" Linley's attitude remained very meek and humble. "Linley, first take a read through the book we just gave you." Emmanuel smiled. Linley was deeply puzzled, but he still flipped through that book discussing the history of the 4 Divine Beasts clan. In front of Emmanuel, Linley pretended to be astonished while flipping through it, but in his heart, he was pondering. Previously, Emmanuel had me leave, but now, suddenly, he asked me to stay and have a private conversation? What is this about? While pretending to read and pretending to be astonished, he continued to ponder. Linley currently had 5 souls, and so he could focus on doing 5 things at the same time. This pretense was thus quite simple for him. There's nothing about me that should have attracted his interest. As Linley closed the book, he looked towards the bald Emmanuel, then pretended to be astonished and said, "Elder, our ancestor was a sovereign? And all 4 sovereigns died? How is this possible?" "This is the truth," Emmanuel said with certainty. "Linley, you now understand the danger our clan is in." "Right. I understand." Linley's face was solemn. This wasn't a pretense. Linley was indeed very worried for the clan's situation. After all, those 8 great clans were staring at them like hungry tigers. Emmanuel said solemnly, "Linley, our 4 Divine Beasts clan is facing this enormous crisis. Currently, what we need are true experts. True experts, aside from their own innate power, also need good divine artifacts. Linley, tell me, am I right?" Linley nodded in agreement. Divine artifacts are indeed important. Emmanuel looked at Linley. "Linley, you have a sovereign artifact, right?" "Sovereign artifact?" These words struck Linley like a bolt of lightning. The look on Linley's face couldn't help but change as his head trembled. Only Bibi and Delia knew about his possession of a soul-protecting sovereign artifact. Linley immediately regained his clarity. "Elder, you are joking with me." Linley stared at Emmanuel. Emmanuel let out a chuckle. "Linley, in front of me, you can stop pretending. I'll tell you this, I am a 4th-generation member of the Azure Dragon clan, and I have personally met the ancestor. So what if you have?" Linley was extremely cautious right now. Emmanuel looked towards Linley's finger, and Linley's face couldn't help but change. Emmanuel laughed. "Linley, I'll tell you that the ring you have on your finger is the ring which the ancestor previously wore, a soul-protecting sovereign artifact, the Azure Dragon Ring." Azure Dragon Ring. One thing after another flashed through Linley's mind like lightning. In the blink of an eye, Linley understood so much. "I had always suspected that the previous owner of this coiling dragon ring is a sovereign. So it was my own ancestor. Right. 10,000 years ago, the ancestor died, and the coiling dragon ring was thus lost." Linley now completely understood. "And that drop of blood which allowed my body to transform, so it was the blood of the ancestor. The blood essence used to refine this sovereign artifact was, without question, the blood of the Azure Dragon himself. That drop of blood had caused Linley's blood to become very pure as well. No wonder there were 3 drops of water-type sovereign's might. The ancestor himself was a water-type sovereign." Linley now completely understood what Emmanuel wanted, and he looked at him. This Emmanuel had met with our ancestor, and so most likely he had seen the coiling dragon ring and was able to immediately recognize it. Linley's thoughts spun rapidly, but his facial expressions had returned to normal. Oh, Azure Dragon Ring. Linley laughed. Elder, since you recognize it, then I won't deny it. This is indeed a soul-protecting sovereign artifact, but that was just in the past. It no longer is. Elder, think about it. The ancestor died. If his soul-protecting sovereign artifact wasn't broken, would he have died? Emmanuel chuckled. Humph. When a sovereign artifact is broken, it definitely won't be completely destroyed. Otherwise, this Azure Dragon Ring would be completely shattered. Elder, you've said so much. What do you want? Linley said solemnly. Emmanuel said solemnly, Linley, given the rules of our clan, this Azure Dragon Ring is one of the treasures of our Azure Dragon clan. A communal possession of the clan. If news that you are in possession of the Azure Dragon Ring were to spread out, the clan would definitely confiscate it from you. Linley frowned. Confiscate? After knowing that this was the sovereign artifact of their ancestor, the Azure Dragon, Linley was indeed worried about this possibility. This coiling dragon ring wasn't just a guarantee of his own strength, it was also a keepsake which cherished the memory of Grandpa Douring. There was no way Linley would give it up. Right. The clan is currently in a state of crisis. This sort of treasure definitely cannot be left on you, where it is wasted. Emmanuel said solemnly. A good treasure has to be matched with an expert. Only then can its full power be drawn out. Linley let out a cold snort. Emmanuel continued, if it is confiscated, this sort of treasure would be given to someone of at least the 7-star fiend level, and a formidable one. The Azure Dragon Ring, in the hands of an ultimate expert, can cause a powerful 7-star fiend to become an Azure level expert. Linley naturally understood this logic. It was precisely because he himself had this coiling dragon ring that he could ignore the difference which gods and high gods had in terms of the soul. Therefore, Linley, for the sake of the clan, and for your own sake, please give me this Azure Dragon Ring. Emmanuel said. Do you think that is actually going to happen? Linley chuckled. Emmanuel said hurriedly, I understand that you can't bear to part with it. This is very understandable. How about this, I guarantee that so long as you give me the Azure Dragon Ring, I will bestow upon you enormous wealth. 1,000,000,000 inkstones. What do you say? 1,000,000,000 inkstones. This person really was taking him for an inexperienced god. No need. Linley shook his head. Emmanuel's face sank. Linley, you should know that for me, killing you is simplicity itself. In his heart, however, Emmanuel knew that first of all, it was forbidden for the Azure Dragon clansmen to casually kill each other, and secondly, he was worried that he wouldn't be able to kill Linley in one blow. This was because Linley had a sovereign artifact, hence his worry. If Linley were to flee from this private room, things would be complicated. After all, outside the private room, there was Elder Garvey, as well as the black-robed men. Killing me is simplicity itself? Didn't you just say I have a sovereign artifact? Linley snickered. I have a sovereign artifact, but you'll be able to kill me in one blow? What's more, the rules of the clan state that clansmen are not permitted to kill each other. Humph. Emmanuel let out a cold snort. If I, an elder, were to kill you, who would dare interfere? Linley, I'll give you a final chance. I am willing to use a drop of Sovereign's might to trade for your Azure Dragon Ring. In addition, I am also willing to create a contract bond with you and guarantee that I won't kill you to prevent the secret from being exposed. What do you say? Sovereign's might. Linley glanced at Emmanuel in surprise. This baldy is actually willing to part with it? Linley knew very well that although Sovereign's might was precious, it was far inferior to a sovereign artifact. Sovereign's might was a one-use item. Almighty sovereigns were able to easily bestow more sovereign's might. To sovereigns, sovereign's might was something that they could provide as much of as was needed. But sovereign artifacts were different. Sovereign artifacts were to sovereigns what divine artifacts were to deities. To create a sovereign artifact, the sovereign had to expend both time and effort. It was very difficult, which was why sovereign artifacts were incomparably precious. Right. Sovereign's might. Emmanuel laughed coldly. This drop of sovereign's might is one of my most important treasures. Linley, I hope you won't force me. An attempt to cow him through threats? Most likely, an ordinary god, when faced with this circumstance, would have surrendered in fear long ago and offered the sovereign artifact. But Linley was different. Because, even if he had to fight Emmanuel head-on, Linley wouldn't fear him at all. Force you? How am I forcing you? Linley smirked as he spoke. Emmanuel's gaze instantly grew cold, and rage began to fill his chest. The angry Emmanuel let out a furious snort. You are looking for death. Ignoring all else, Emmanuel sent a backhand blow directly towards Linley. He was hoping to kill Linley with a single blow, then seize the sovereign artifact. Boom. The power of the slap caused Linley to feel the whole world was turning dark. Linley's right hand immediately transformed into a draconic claw, colliding with that palm. Bang. Linley was sent flying outwards, smashing viciously against the door of that secret room. The door blew apart, and Linley immediately flew out. Save me, Elder Garvey, save me. Linley's voice was like a thunderclap, echoing throughout the main hall. Emmanuel's face instantly turned exceedingly ugly to behold. He's going to die. Swish. Emmanuel immediately flew out from the private room. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 14, The Challenge. As Linley was sent smashing to the corridor outside, a hint of blood appeared at the corner of his lips. He immediately launched himself from the ground, transforming into a ray of light and scurrying towards the main hall. Linley laughed coldly to himself. Emmanuel thinks he can kill me. However, unless it becomes necessary, there's no rush for me to reveal my power. At the same moment Linley was fleeing, he was also shouting, Elder Garvey, save me. The explosion of the door, and Linley's loud shout, given the hearing prowess of high gods, how could they not hear this? Whoosh! Whoosh! From afar, multiple figures flew over at high speed, with the handsome youth, Garvey, at their head. Don't even think about escape. An angry voice rang out, and Emmanuel's body flashed out in pursuit of Linley, as fast as an arrow. Linley, seeing Garvey and the black-robed men, immediately fled behind them. Only now did he say, Elder Garvey, Elder Emmanuel wants to kill me. When Garvey heard this, his handsome face became filled with anger. Emmanuel, what are you doing? Garvey thundered. The bald Emmanuel came to a halt, staring angrily at Linley, then looked at Garvey. Garvey, step aside. Linley is our clansman. Why do you want to kill him? Garvey was extremely upset. So the reason you wanted to speak to him privately was so you could kill him? No, that's not it. Emmanuel said hurriedly. Emmanuel, seeing Garvey appear, knew that this situation had just grown complicated. This was what he had feared the most. But he was astonished as well. That palm blow of mine actually didn't kill Linley. Sovereign artifacts truly are powerful and useful in protecting one's life. Linley had blood dribbling from his lips, and his face was ashen. Emmanuel had believed that the reason he wasn't able to kill Linley with one blow was because of the coiling dragon ring. He didn't realize that the blood leaking from the corner of Linley's lips and his ashen face were all part of Linley's pretense. A simple palm like that, given my defense, won't be able to harm me at all. Linley snickered internally. However, it's best to hide my true strength for now. After having arrived in the Four Divine Beasts clan, he had decided to first spend some time quietly accompanying his family and friends. After he became a high god, he would then go out to do battle. In addition, after he became a high god, he would be of greater use. He couldn't reveal his strength for now. Once he did, his peaceful days would be over. Linley, tell me, what is this about? Garvey looked at Linley. Elder Garvey, I didn't offend Elder Emmanuel at all, but for no reason at all, he wants to kill me. Linley said. The matter regarding the coiling dragon ring definitely couldn't be revealed. By now, Linley had also changed the appearance of the coiling dragon ring. Even divine artifacts could be changed in appearance, and so sovereign artifacts naturally could as well. Linley regretted not having changed the appearance of the coiling dragon ring in the past. First of all, nobody had ever discovered it, and so he had not been vigilant. Secondly, as his power had increased, so too had his self-confidence. But who would have imagined that this would happen? Emmanuel. Garvey looked towards him. Garvey, do you believe me or believe him? Emmanuel's rage was rising, and his face was exceedingly ugly. This Linley offended me. Today, I will definitely kill him. Garvey, out of the way. The black-robed men at the corridor were all surprised. This Emmanuel really had lost his self-control. Emmanuel. Garvey barked coldly. We are in the Skirite Mountains. The rules of the clan are that we are not to wantonly slaughter each other. What are you doing? Elder Emmanuel, I truly wish to know why you want to kill me. Linley stared at Emmanuel as he spoke. Right. Why do you want to kill him? Garvey also looked at him. Emmanuel stared furiously at Linley, his eyes spitting fire. He was angry. Angry that Linley didn't know what was good for him. I was willing to offer a drop of Sovereign's might, but he still wasn't willing. He forced my hand. Emmanuel had already made his decision. Elder Emmanuel, why are you so angry? It seems as though I should be the angry one. Linley laughed coldly. If push comes to shove, we can just fight to the end, until either the fish dies or the net breaks. Emmanuel's heart clenched. What did he fear, right now? Not Garvey's interference. He was afraid that Linley would publicly announce the fact that he had the Azure Dragon Ring. Once this was made public, even if the clan didn't confiscate it, there was no way it would go to Emmanuel. Fine, Linley. Emmanuel snickered. Aren't you the fierce one? Me, fierce. It is that you go too far. Linley replied. The nearby Garvey as well as the black-robed men were mystified. They didn't know what Linley and Emmanuel were talking about. Elder Emmanuel, I, as a junior, would like to offer you a few words. Linley stared at Emmanuel, a hint of a smile at the corner of his lips. Sometimes, it's best not to be too greedy. Greed can cause you to lose your life. What belongs to you is yours. What doesn't belong to you will never be yours. Emmanuel began to laugh from rage. Kid, I'll send your words right back to you. Emmanuel said furiously. Don't be too greedy. Greed can cause you to lose your life. Oh? Lose my life. Linley began to laugh. Most venerable elder, you are a powerful 7-star fiend, while I am just a mere god. I admit that my power is inferior to yours, and it wouldn't be hard for you to take my life, but you can't go too far and be too abusive. What are you two talking about? Garvey said angrily. Emmanuel. Garvey said, if Linley truly has acted untowardly, you can go ahead and speak to the assembly of elders, who will definitely carry out a punishment against Linley. Emmanuel took a deep breath, then said slowly, Linley, the offense you have given me is unpardonable. I issue you a challenge to a life and death duel. Life and death duel. Garvey and the black-robed men on the corridor were all stunned. Garvey stared, astonished, at Emmanuel, then sent with divine sense, Emmanuel, what are you doing? He's just a god. If you really want to kill him, just report this to the assembly of elders. Why a life and death duel? But how could Garvey know that Emmanuel wanted to personally kill Linley and rob him of his azure dragon ring? Those black-robed men all looked at Linley, a hint of pity in their eyes. "Can I ask, what is this life and death duel?" Linley's voice rang out. Immediately, Elder Garvey and the others were all amazed. Linley didn't even know what a life and death duel was. Garvey let out a secret sigh, feeling grief for Linley. In the end, he explained, "Linley, there are many people in the clan. With so many people together, it's impossible for there to be no conflicts at all. Once the conflicts reach a certain level where neither side will rest until the other is dead, then these conflicts will have become irreconcilable. Although the rules of the clan state that clansmen are not permitted to kill each other, when the hatred grows too great, sometimes even the mediation of the clan is useless. At this time, the only option is a life and death duel." Garvey said solemnly, "The life and death duel is a brutal duel, with two people taking part and the duel only concluding upon one side's death. But of course, if the winner spares the loser's life, that's permitted as well. However, generally speaking, in a life and death duel, both sides won't end it until the other is dead." Hearing this, Linley now understood. He couldn't help but feel his rage grow. "This Emmanuel really doesn't want to leave me any options at all. Can it be that I have to accept his challenge?" Linley asked. "You can refuse it," Garvey said. "However, even if you refuse it, he can still make an application to the Assembly of Elders. Once the Assembly of Elders approves it, even if you refuse, you still have to take part in the life and death duel." "Ha ha," Linley began to laugh. Assembly of Elders. Emmanuel himself was a member of the Assembly of Elders. If Emmanuel went to apply for a life and death duel, how could it not pass? "Linley, if you regret it, it isn't too late yet." Emmanuel laughed coldly. "My conditions haven't changed. I can spare your life." Emmanuel's request was to use a drop of Sovereign's Might in exchange for the Coiling dragon ring. Linley looked at him. Simply looked at him, with eyes as cold as ice. "It isn't too late for me if I regret it?" Linley had a hint of a satirical smile on his face. "Right." Emmanuel nodded. "Emmanuel, I'll tell you this." Linley snickered. "I refuse your life and death challenge." "Your refusal is futile," Emmanuel said. Linley snickered. "I'm refusing right now. As for whether or not the Assembly of Elders will approve your request, I can't be bothered to care. I'll tell you one thing as well, Emmanuel, if you regret it now, it isn't too late for you. In the future, even if you regret it, it will be too late." After speaking, Linley turned his head and left, his face a frozen mask. Linley truly had the urge to kill now. "Originally, I wanted to continue my peaceful life until becoming a high god. Emmanuel, you forced me." Linley wouldn't hesitate any longer. If he truly had to participate in a life and death duel, he would definitely kill Emmanuel. Seeing Linley's back as he walked away, Emmanuel laughed coldly. "Refuse? Will your refusal matter?" Emmanuel chuckled. "When the time comes, it won't matter even if you regret it." Emmanuel shook his head, then left, not paying any attention to Garvey. Garvey let out a sigh. What a pity for this genius. He is going to die. Garvey didn't think Linley had any chance at life. Emmanuel was a fourth-generation member of the clan. His father was a third-generation member, while his paternal grandmother was of the second generation. In the entire Azure Dragon clan, there were only 2 members of the second generation, a pair of siblings, brother and sister. The first was the patriarch of the Azure Dragon clan, the son of the ancestor, the Azure Dragon. The other was the sister of the patriarch. In the clan, Emmanuel's status wasn't that high, but his influence was significant. As for Garvey, he had come countless tens of thousands of generations later. Although he was also a 7-star fiend, his influence was naturally inferior. Late at night, the violet moon hung high in the sky. Linley flew by himself on Dragon Avenue. He clearly remembered the way back home. This coiling dragon ring. Linley lowered his head, glancing at it. In his mind, he couldn't help but think back to so many scenes from his childhood. Because of the coiling dragon ring, he had met Grandpa Doering. Because of Grandpa Doering, he had become a powerful expert. Over the many years, because of the coiling dragon ring, he was able to compensate for the difference in his soul when compared to high gods. Because of the coiling dragon ring, he dared to do battle against 7 star fiends. Unconsciously, his entire life had become intertwined with the coiling dragon ring. Nobody should even dream of trying to take my coiling dragon ring from me, Linley said softly. If I truly am forced to take part in a life and death duel. Linley's gaze was cold and clear. I will definitely kill that Emmanuel. Right now, he is the only one who knows that I have this coiling dragon ring. He definitely won't be so stupid as to spread the news. If I kill him, no one else will know about it. That very day, Emmanuel returned and immediately went to find the 3 elders who were in charge of managing the life and death duels. Ordinary duels could be agreed to by 3 elders. Emmanuel, why did you summon the 3 of us in such a rush? 2 men, 1 woman. The 3 were dressed in resplendent azure armor with golden patterns, and a billowing cape covered with complicated magic runes. 3 elders. There's a god who has offended me. He holds me in no regard at all. Emmanuel said angrily. I am going to kill him. I'm applying for a life and death duel. The 3 of you, help me out and approve this request. As he spoke, he handed over a piece of paper. The 3 elders glanced at the paper, then looked at each other. This was a joke, right? An elder was going to engage in a life and death duel to kill a god. The golden-haired woman laughed. Emmanuel, as someone who has a revered position as an elder, how can you possibly squabble with the likes of a god? I am definitely going to kill him. Emmanuel said. Another elder, a silver-haired old man, laughed. Emmanuel, if you really want to kill him, just tell us the reason he offended you. We'll send people to go arrest him. In accordance with the rules of the clan, we can execute him for having offended an elder. Why the need for some life and death duel? You, a venerable elder, are going to duel a god. Isn't this laughable? The 3 of you, just consider this being me, Emmanuel, asking the 3 of you to help me out. All right. Emmanuel said. The 3 exchanged glances. Fine. We agree. The 3 elders each withdrew a feather quill, recording their names on the paper. Emmanuel, seeing this, laughed. In his heart, he said to himself, Linley, it's now too late for you. Even if you regret it. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 15, Life and Death Duel. The morning sun had just risen, and the sanguine light of the blood sun could be seen peeking through the thin mists of the gorge. Linley walked out from his room as well. The weather's not bad. Linley took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill his chest. Swoosh. A human figure jumped down from above. Boss, it seems you are in a good mood. Bibi laughed. Bibi lived on the 2nd floor of this building. Yes, a pretty good mood. It's been 82 years since we came to the Skirite Mountains, and I haven't had a good battle this entire time, nor have I killed anyone. But I'm about to go kill someone and about to have a good battle. Of course my mood is good. Linley laughed. Bibi was puzzled. Boss, what do you mean by this? No rush. You'll know soon enough. Linley said. Bibi, seeing that Linley was intentionally being mysterious, couldn't help but purse his lips. At this time, Delia also walked out from the room, and Bibi immediately went to greet her. Delia, the boss says that he is about to engage in a battle and kill someone. Do you know what this is about? Is that so? Puzzled, Delia turned her head to look towards Linley. Linley chuckled. Suddenly, the sound of the wind could be heard. He immediately raised his head to look. Multiple figures flew down from the skies, all dressed in the battle armor uniform of the Azure Dragon clan. Linley laughed calmly. They are here. Bibi and Delia raised their head to look, puzzled. They saw 3 azure armored warriors fly over. Linley. The leader recognized Linley right away. Clearly, the Assembly of Elders, when giving the order, had provided a clear description of Linley's appearance as well. Everyone, is there something you need? Linley said. The leader of the azure armored warriors sighed inwardly. He, too, didn't understand how a god could have offended one of the lofty, high-ranked elders. But he still said, Linley, Lord Emmanuel has issued a life and death challenge. The Assembly of Elders has already approved it. Come with us. Right now. Linley was rather surprised. The approval of the application by the Assembly of Elders was something which Linley had predicted long ago, but for the duel to start immediately was outside of Linley's expectations. The life and death duel will be held today during noon. Right now, you just need to get there in advance. The azure armored warrior said. In his heart, he still felt some sympathy for Linley. After all, as he saw it, Linley was a bottom-ranked figure of the clan, not too different from patrol warriors like them. But although they sympathized for Linley, there was no way they could help out. Boss, what is it? Bibi said frantically. Linley, what is this life and death duel? Delia said urgently as well. Linley laughed, in our clan, an elder Emmanuel insists on killing me. Fortunately, at that time, Elder Garvey was present, but in the end, Elder Emmanuel still issued me a life and death duel. Either he dies or I die. Elder. Delia began to worry. Boss, are you confident? Bibi asked. They were certain of Linley's strength, but the opponent was one of the clan's elders, after all. In the past 80 years, they had gained an understanding of the Assembly of Elders. To enter the Assembly of Elders, the first requirement was to reach the 7-star fiend level. Linley sent mentally, Delia, Bibi. Don't worry. If this was before my ancestral baptism, I wouldn't be completely certain, but after having undergone the ancestral baptism, I have confidence. Delia immediately relaxed. She trusted Linley. Linley, is the reason he wants to kill you, because of the coiling dragon ring? Delia sent through divine sense. Linley nodded, sending back through divine sense, I myself learned just now that this sovereign artifact, the coiling dragon ring, had actually belonged to the ancestor of our Azure Dragon clan. Emmanuel recognized it at a single glance. Bibi and Delia now both understood. They both could understand the powerful allure of a soul-protecting sovereign artifact. No wonder Emmanuel was acting this way. Linley, can you leave now? The Azure Armored Warrior said. These Azure Armored Warriors actually weren't in a rush. The life and death duel would only be held at noon. For Elder Emmanuel, he would just come over from his residence when the time came. But Linley, as the person of lower status, had to arrive earlier. It doesn't start until noon. Why the rush? Bibi said unhappily. The 3 of you, what are you doing? Several figures flew over at high speed. It was Barak and several other clansmen. They, too, had begun to worry after seeing the Azure Armored Warriors fly over. These Azure Armored Warriors' arrival definitely portended an important matter. Elder Emmanuel is about to initiate a life and death duel with Linley. The Assembly of Elders has already approved it. An Azure Armored Warrior said. Barak and the others were stunned, their eyes filled with disbelief. The Elder and Linley. They couldn't accept this. A revered, venerable elder, How can he challenge Linley to a life and death duel? Hazard said furiously. Linley's arrival had caused the status of their Yulon branch to rise considerably in recent days. In addition, all of them were fond of this descendant of theirs, Linley. An elder, challenging a god. This was too unfair. The Assembly of Elders has already approved it. There's no way to change it. The leader of the Azure Armored Warriors said. Unless you can ask the Patriarch to intervene. In the Azure Dragon clan, without question, the person of the highest status was the Patriarch. He was the son of their ancestor, the Azure Dragon. When the Azure Dragon had been alive, he had naturally expended enormous amounts of effort in training and cultivating his son. One could imagine how powerful the Patriarch was. In the clan, his word was supreme. Linley, what is it? Tarasi, Dylan, and the others flew out. Others immediately began to explain the situation to them. Tarasi and the others were astonished as well that an elder of the clan was actually challenging Linley to a life and death battle. Don't worry, everyone. Linley said calmly, then looked at the Azure Armored Warrior. Let's go. The leader of the Azure Armored Warriors nodded. Can we go watch the duel? Delia immediately asked. The leader of the Azure Armored Warriors glanced at the crowd, then nodded. This is Linley's last battle anyways. You can go watch it if you want. As he spoke, the 3 Azure Armored Warriors took Linley with them, flying into the air. Delia, Bibi, Barak, as well as even Tarasi, Dylan, and the others all immediately followed. An elder of the clan was going to initiate a life and death duel with a god. This news wasn't actually known by many throughout the various levels of the clan. At the higher levels, however, this news spread very quickly, especially amongst the elders themselves, who quickly learned of this. Emmanuel, that kid, he's going to engage in a life and death duel with a junior? Did I mishear something? A muscular man with short azure hair said with a frown. Uncle, there's no mistake. Emmanuel really is going to have a life and death duel with a god. The other person, a tall man with brown hair, spoke out. The 2 of them were dressed in that azure armor with golden embroidery, as well as the cape with unusual magic runes. Both were elders of the clan. Let's go take a look. The azure-haired man said. Today, quite a few people will be watching. The brown-haired man laughed. Will the Patriarch attend? The Patriarch most likely doesn't even know about this. I hear that today, he is together with the Indigo Emissary. This visit by the Indigo Emissary seems to be regarding a rather weighty matter. The brown-haired man said, rather puzzled. An important affair? Could it be that we are about to start fighting with the 8 great clans? The azure-haired man was rather worried. I'm not sure. We'll know when the Patriarch returns. The brown-haired man shook his head. While chatting, the 2 flew towards the direction of Death Valley, the place which the Azure Dragon clan used for carrying out life and death duels. Quite a few people had arrived at Death Valley today. Aside from the high-level members of the clan and Linley's people, there were also a large number of patrol warriors who knew about this matter. Bored, they came to watch this battle. This was an elder against a god. Something like this was something which they wouldn't see even in 100 million years within the clan. That Emmanuel really does put on airs. Bibi said unhappily. We've already arrived, but he still hasn't shown himself. Perhaps it really will be like what the Azure Armored Warriors said and that he won't come out until noon. Linley laughed as he stood above Death Valley. Bibi, don't be impatient. Linley, you seem completely confident. Tarasi laughed. I had wanted to live the peaceful life for a bit longer, after having returned to the Azure Dragon clan. It seems that won't be possible any longer. Linley swept his gaze across Death Valley. Currently, quite a few elders of the clan had already arrived. But of course, most of the spectators were Azure Armored Warriors. There were thousands of azure armored warriors present, and they were all chatting amongst themselves. I hear that today, the god who is being challenged by the elder to a life and death duel is named Linley. Which one of those guys is Linley? That one, the one with brown hair. The one standing next to the kid with the straw hat. Someone immediately pointed him out. Amongst the patrolling guards who had come to watch this duel, information regarding Linley had quickly spread out. What a pity. A god is going to die today. I wonder why Elder Emmanuel is acting this way towards a god. If he wants to kill a god, he doesn't need to go to all this trouble. The elder is going a bit too far. Linley is quite impressive as well, that he actually has the courage to come. It was natural for people to pity the weak, and of course the patrolling guards were also considered commoners within the clan, those of the lowest rung. In the bottom of their hearts, they were filled with both fear as well as respect for those venerable, lofty elders. It was only natural for them to feel sympathy for Linley and stand on his side. But of course, although in their hearts, they stood with Linley, they wouldn't dare display it. Elder Emmanuel has arrived. Someone suddenly called out. Immediately, everyone turned to look. Linley, hearing the commotion, also turned his head to look. From mid-air, the bald Emmanuel, dressed in the garb reserved for elders, came flying down alongside several other elders. They finally came. Linley looked at him. Emmanuel looked back at him. He's bold at least. Emmanuel had a hint of a smile at the corner of his lips. He swept his gaze across Linley, and saw the flash of light from the ring on Linley's finger. He couldn't help but grow excited. He knew that was a sovereign artifact. Fortunately, he didn't flee last night. The previous day, Emmanuel had ordered that the gorge be completely sealed off from above, precisely to defend against Linley fleeing. In accordance with the rules of the clan, once conflicts reach an irreconcilable level, a life and death duel will be initiated. No regrets in death. Today, the parties to this life and death duel are Emmanuel and Linley. An elder hovered in midair and said in a loud voice. The entire Death Valley became silent, with no one saying a word. Gentlemen, make your preparations. The elder said calmly. Emmanuel flew over gracefully to the center of Death Valley, immediately looking arrogantly towards Linley. Boss, go kick that elder's ass and kill him. BB sent through divine sense. Linley, be careful. Delia said. Linley just laughed calmly, then flew straight to the center of Death Valley as well, staring directly at the distant Emmanuel. In the entire Death Valley, everyone, elders and patrolling warriors alike, had fallen silent. Begin, then. The elder shouted. Linley's face instantly turned solemn. Linley, as long as you admit defeat, I can spare your life. Emmanuel floated down, laughing calmly as he spoke, as though he held Linley's life in his hand. Admit defeat. Linley let out an emotionless chuckle. Today is a life and death duel. Either you die or I die. Immediately, there was an enormous commotion. The elders and the patrolling warriors were all rather astonished. As they saw it, Linley was going to die for certain. For Emmanuel to be able to say what he had just said could already be considered quite benevolent and merciful. But Linley had actually refused. Humph. It is you who is asking for death. Emmanuel's face immediately turned cold. Suddenly, Emmanuel frowned. From the corner of his eyes, he noticed Delia, BB, Caesar, and the others standing at the corner of Death Valley. These people look rather familiar. It seems I've seen them somewhere before. Emmanuel had this sudden thought, but instantly, the thought disappeared. After all, a battle was about to begin. He couldn't lose his concentration. Boom! An explosion of energy. Linley's entire body was instantly covered with a large number of draconic scales. Those azure golden scales stretched across his entire body as those fierce spikes erupted from his forehead and spine. His draconic tail, flashing with metallic light, began to sway gently. Come. Linley stared coldly with his dark golden eyes towards his opponent. It's him. Elder Garvey was shocked. It's him. The faces of the 10 or so elders who were watching from afar instantly changed. The scryer recording which had spread to them from Malugo Island. All of the high-level members of the Azure Dragon clan had viewed it. They all knew that in the infernal realm, there was an expert of the Azure Dragon clan whose body emitted sharp spikes when dragon formed. The members of the clan had never before seen this sort of transformation. After all, in normal circumstances, how could the descendants of the 4 divine beasts clan be forced to drink the dragon's blood of a magical beast of the 9th rank, an armored razorback WYRM, in order to activate dragon blood in their veins? The formerly confident Emmanuel's face immediately changed as well. It's him. That powerful, mysterious clansman of ours who appeared in Malugo Island. Emmanuel's mind was in a state of chaos now, and then he glanced sideways at Delia, Bibi, and the others. Right. Now I remember where I saw them. In that scryer recording. When that enormous cube was chopped apart, those people were by the side of that clansman of ours. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 16, No Mercy. In the air above the Skirite Mountains. A tall, powerful figure slashed through the skies, his long robe fluttering as he arrived to a high point above Dragon Avenue, at the Dragon Head location, where there was an enormous castle. His azure hair fluttered in the breeze. His cold, grim face appeared to have been chiseled out by knives. This person descended directly in front of the castle gates. The patrolling soldiers in front of the castle gate, upon seeing this person, immediately bowed with respect. Patriarch. The person was the awe-inspiring patriarch of the Azure Dragon clan, the #1 expert of the Azure Dragon clan, Gislason Gaius Ilaseng Redding. The son of the sovereign Azure Dragon. Gislason's power was simply unfathomable. Why are none of the elders present in the castle? Gislason frowned. He had been able to instantly tell that the castle had no elders within it. The elders all went to Death Valley to watch a life and death duel. A patrol warrior immediately replied. Life and death duel. Patriarch Gislason frowned. A single life and death duel attracted so many elders. What's this about? Elder Emmanuel initiated a life and death duel against a god named Linley. The patrol warrior said. Linley? A god? Gislason was utterly confused. A venerable elder, engaging in a life and death duel with a god. Humph. A cold snort. The patriarch Gislason transformed into a streak of light, flying at high speed towards Death Valley. At this moment, the situation at Death Valley was very peculiar. The duel had begun, but Elder Emmanuel, who clearly should have had the upper hand, was actually hesitating. He hadn't attacked yet, and his face was filled with shock, fear, anger, and regret. It's actually him. It's actually him. Emmanuel was utterly enraged. He has the Azure Dragon ring. His soul defense is definitely very powerful. But his body, Emmanuel had originally been planning to use material attacks to gain victory. He was very confident, as his own body was very powerful. But he had seen the scryer recording. Emmanuel knew very well that Linley's body was even tougher than his. Who would have imagined that Linley was actually that expert who had appeared at Malugo Island? Emmanuel, what is it? You want to let me go first? Linley laughed coldly. Instantly, the entire Death Valley buzzed with conversation. Those patrol warriors, in particular, were puzzled as to why Emmanuel still hadn't attacked. Linley, Emmanuel wanted to say something. Since you are letting me go first out of courtesy, Elder, then I'll go first. Linley said coldly, and then he exploded with speed, transforming into a blur that slashed through the skies. Emmanuel immediately let out an explosive shout. Rumble, the world suddenly gave birth to enormous watery waves, and these waves swept down towards Linley. And then, instantly, the wave transformed into mist, ensconcing Linley within. For a moment, Linley wasn't able to see what was going on in front of him. Swish! 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 Sharp icy bolts suddenly emerged from the mist, all of the icy bolts arcing in curved lines. The countless icy arrows were actually all arcing in different curved lines towards Linley, and as the icy arrows drew near, they actually tore the skies apart. Multiple tears in space appeared. He lives up to being an elder, Linley said to himself. Linley didn't even dodge. He just stood there in mid-air, like a celestial divinity. Rays of divine earth power emerged from Linley, sweeping outwards with Linley at the center. Immediately, that dim earthen yellow light spread out, forming an enormous sphere that was 500 meters in diameter. Emmanuel was unable to dodge, and he was immediately trapped within black stone space. The terrifying gravitational pull, when applied to those icy arrows, caused their direction to change slightly. This slight change in direction caused the vast majority of the icy arrows to very naturally miss their mark, and be unable to converge on the target. Crunch! 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 8 icy arrows struck Linley, but a clear sound like metal clashing on metal rang out. The icy arrows immediately shattered, while only a few white spots were left on Linley's draconic scales. What? Emmanuel's face changed dramatically. Although he had been mentally prepared already, he was still astonished at Linley's defensive power. Terrible! Emmanuel could feel that his body was under the effect of that inexhaustible gravitational power. He immediately wanted to throw it off, but in an instant, the downwards gravitational pull suddenly transformed into a pull towards Linley's direction. You want to flee? Linley let out an angry laugh, then threw himself towards Emmanuel. Emmanuel's speed was naturally inferior to Linley, now that he also had to fight off the gravity. How did this come to pass? The thousands of patrol warriors were all flabbergasted. This life and death duel, which they had been certain was going to be one-sided, was indeed one-sided, but the person who had the advantage was that god. This Linley, how can he? These people only stared, their tongues tied. Linley. He isn't a god. He definitely isn't. For now, let's ignore the stupefied patrol warriors. Those elders who were watching the battle from the side, after seeing Linley's transformation, grew certain in their hearts. Emmanuel is doomed, this time. He's kicked a steel board this time. Those elders all maintained their silence. After all, Emmanuel was participating in a life and death duel. It wasn't appropriate for them to intervene. Bastard! Trapped in the gravitational sphere, Emmanuel was like an ordinary person trapped in quicksand, finding movement incredibly difficult. Linley, however, was drawing near at astonishing speed. Emmanuel didn't dare to engage in close quarters combat with Linley. Emmanuel seemed to have gone insane as he let out a bellow. Crackle! Strangely, a large amount of ice appeared out of nowhere, forming an enormous, thick wall of ice directly in front of Emmanuel, the blocks of ice flashing with dazzling light. This wall of thick ice was also affected by the powerful gravity. And they flew at high speed against Linley. Not only was the wall of ice affected by the gravity, Emmanuel himself also intentionally sent the ice wall flying towards Linley. In an instant, the ice wall reached Linley's body. Break! Linley let out a low growl. His right fist, carrying boundless power, utilized the profound mysteries of strength of the laws of the earth, smashing down viciously against one point on the icy wall. Bang! The entire icy wall trembled, then exploded into countless shards of ice. As Linley was flying past those shattered shards of ice, Emmanuel had managed to flee to the edges of the gravitational field. But right at this moment, Emmanuel actually stopped fleeing, turning, and letting out a low roar. Suddenly, an azure dragon phantom appeared behind Emmanuel, which stared at Linley with a pair of icy eyes, preparing to let loose a low roar. Innate divine ability, dragon roar. Not good. Linley's face changed. A blurry azure light instantly shot towards Linley, who felt his head grow numb for a moment before he instantly regained clarity. But Linley discovered that both Emmanuel as well as the countless distant spectators suddenly began to move much faster. Time. Linley immediately understood. In that instant, the region where Linley had been had its time slowed down. For every 10 seconds which passed for others, 1 second would pass for Linley. This allowed Emmanuel to flee from Linley's gravitational field. I finally escaped. Emmanuel immediately flew to the far end of Death Valley. Emmanuel, you won't be able to flee. Linley flew over. Halt! Emmanuel furiously shouted. Linley was startled, but he still halted. With a cold laugh, he said, Emmanuel, what, you have something you want to say? I acknowledge your strength. I admit defeat. Let's just bring an end to this life and death duel. Emmanuel sent through divine sense. It's my fault for being blind. I didn't realize you were an expert. Let's just leave it here. Leave it here. Linley threw himself forward once more. Linley, I don't want that azure dragon ring anymore. Emmanuel said hurriedly. I originally thought you were a god. Who would have imagined that this azure dragon ring, when carried by you, can still unleash such tremendous power? I won't try to take it. Linley just laughed coldly. When Emmanuel had thought he was weak, Emmanuel wanted to kill him. But now he was submitting tamely. However, without a doubt, currently the only outsider who knew that Linley was in possession of the coiling dragon ring was Emmanuel. If he killed Emmanuel, then there was no longer any danger of outsiders finding out. Kill. I admit defeat. Emmanuel's voice rang out throughout Death Valley. Linley was stunned. Emmanuel was actually so shameless as to directly admit defeat in the midst of a life and death duel. Can it be that this Emmanuel doesn't know that there are only two possible outcomes of a life and death duel? One is fighting to the death, while the other is the victor sparing the life of the loser. Admitting defeat in a life and death duel was meaningless. He admitted defeat. The many patrolling warriors and elders were all astonished. As for Delia, Bibi, and the others, they grew excited. Linley, since Emmanuel has admitted defeat, just spare him. An elder said loudly. But even he couldn't break the rules of a life and death duel. Only Linley could make the decision to spare Emmanuel. Right, Linley. He's admitted defeat. Just forget it. The other elders spoke out as well. At present, in their hearts, they had already begun to consider Linley as an expert on the same level as them. Although Emmanuel felt humiliated in his heart, he still knew very clearly, this Linley's body is so incredibly powerful, and he has a sovereign artifact for soul defense. Although the sovereign artifact is damaged, it still isn't something I can break through. Emmanuel couldn't see any hope of victory for himself. He didn't want to die. Spare him. Linley's dark golden eyes had a cold light flash through them. Suddenly, a terrifying howl rang out, and Linley's body slashed through the skies, charging towards the distant Emmanuel. Showing no mercy at all. You forced me into a life and death duel, and now you want me to spare you? In your dreams. Linley's furious roar echoed non-stop throughout Death Valley. Emmanuel immediately turned and fled, but Emmanuel didn't leave the confines of Death Valley. If a person was to truly violate the laws of a life and death duel and flee out of Death Valley, the entire Azure Dragon clan would chase after him, and he would, without any question, die. Thus, he could only dodge and evade within Death Valley. Linley pursued at high speed. You won't be able to escape. Linley, seizing the opportunity, once again unleashed his Blackstone space, directly capturing Emmanuel within the pull of his gravitational sphere. Emmanuel's speed immediately slowed dramatically, and Linley laughed coldly as he charged over. But right at this moment, swoosh! Emmanuel threw out a ray of white light from his hand. Crackle, where the white light passed by, space split apart. Linley didn't dodge at all, directly sending a palm to smash towards that light. Bang! Linley just felt his right hand completely go numb. His draconic scales split apart, and fresh blood began to leak out. That white light, however, was completely destroyed as well. Despite this, Linley didn't slow down. "Linley, you can't kill me." Emmanuel was growing frantic now, but within that gravitational space, his speed was far inferior to Linley's. "Die, then." Linley came for him. "Stay your hand." A furious roar sounded out. Linley felt as though this roar bored directly through his mind, causing his head to grow slightly dizzy. Linley couldn't help but pay attention to the air above him. And in the air above, a man dressed in an azure robe with many embroidered patterns was descending, his long azure hair fluttering in the wind. His gaze was like thunder, and he was staring directly downwards. Patriarch! Emmanuel was overjoyed. He wouldn't have to die. Patriarch! Those elders, upon seeing this person, all immediately bowed respectfully. Patriarch! Those thousands of patrolling warriors all immediately bowed in respect as well. Linley's heart trembled. Patriarch! However, seeing that Emmanuel was not too far away, and how he had already relaxed, the murderous intent emerged once more in Linley's heart. This Emmanuel cannot be spared. With a swish, Linley charged over. Emmanuel's face changed dramatically. "Linley, you..." He never imagined that Linley would dare disobey the orders of the Patriarch. What he didn't realize was, Linley had joined the Azure Dragon clan less than a century ago, and so he didn't have a clear idea of what the Patriarch of the Azure Dragon clan represented, nor did he feel much fear towards the man. He wasn't like Elder Emmanuel and the other elders. In their eyes, the Patriarch was an invincible expert. The commands of the Patriarch were not to be disobeyed. Linley's right draconic claw landed mercilessly towards Emmanuel, and within the range of that gravitational pull, Emmanuel couldn't dodge at all. Clang! Suddenly, another draconic claw appeared, clashing directly with Linley's scale-covered right hand. Linley just felt his entire right arm tremble violently, and his fingers immediately lost all feeling. That draconic claw, with a flipping movement, trapped Linley's own right hand. Linley raised his hand to look. It was the awe-inspiring Patriarch. Wasn't he over there just now? How could he be so fast? Linley didn't dare believe that the Patriarch's speed could be so incredibly fast. "I told you to stay your hand, and yet you still attack. What audacity!" The Patriarch's gaze was like ice as he stared at Linley. The Patriarch's draconic scale-covered right hand grabbed Linley, and Linley actually had the feeling that wasn't able to resist at all. This was the first time. The first time Linley had encountered a person whose body and physical strength completely, utterly outclassed his own. The number one expert of the Azure Dragon clan, the Patriarch, Gislason Redding. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 17, Prestige. Everyone in Death Valley was utterly silent. The prestige and aura emanating from the Patriarch, Gislason, caused everyone present to feel pressure. What tremendous strength! Linley's right hand was numb and trembling slightly. He was like a little chick who had been seized by a great eagle, completely unable to fight back. In fact, the arm which the Patriarch had seized was actually slightly throbbing with pain. The power of this Patriarch was tremendous. "Patriarch, this Elder Emmanuel challenged me to a life and death duel. The Assembly of Elders approved it," Linley said in a neither hostile nor submissive manner. "The Assembly of Elders approved it?" The Patriarch, Gislason, glanced sideways at the distant elders, none of whom dared to make a sound. In their hearts, they felt misery, especially those three who had approved this application. How could any of them have known that Linley was so strong? So what if they approved it? Didn't you hear my order just now? Gislason stared fiercely at Linley. Linley was stunned. Emmanuel also said, Linley, in our Azure Dragon clan, nobody can disobey the commands of the Patriarch. What the Assembly of Elders has approved, the Patriarch can, with a word, forbid. You actually dared to disobey. From the corner of his eyes, Linley noticed the look on the faces of those distant elders, then glanced at the look on Emmanuel's face. He couldn't help but sigh to himself. It seems within the Azure Dragon clan, the power of this Patriarch is extremely high, vastly outstripping that of the Assembly of Elders. When a person's power reached a certain level, an entire clan would easily become a place where his word alone was supreme. In the Azure Dragon clan, the word of Gislason reigned supreme. Patriarch, I've arrived in the Azure Dragon clan less than a century ago. There are many things regarding the clan which I am not aware of. Linley said directly. Oh. Less than a century. The Patriarch, Gislason, frowned. Linley, you dared to disobey the orders of the Patriarch. This has nothing to do with how long you have been in the Azure Dragon clan. The commands of the Patriarch are not to be disobeyed. You ignored the order of the Patriarch, which means you have no respect for him. Emmanuel angrily barked. After saying these things, Emmanuel didn't continue to speak. He knew that disrespecting the Patriarch was a tremendous, grave sin. Linley, hearing this, couldn't help but feel his anger surge yet again. Whoosh! A flickering blur. Whap! A palm slapped heavily against Emmanuel's face, and Emmanuel was hit so hard that his entire body was twisted. Blood flew everywhere as Emmanuel fell to the ground, and then, terrified and confused, looked at the Patriarch, Gislason. He didn't understand why the Patriarch had struck him. Shut your mouth. Gislason stared at him coldly. You, a venerable elder, are actually still not aware of the mistake you have made? Today, even if he killed you, you would have no one to blame but yourself. I haven't even punished you yet, and yet you are here babbling. Do you really think I'm afraid to kill you? Emmanuel shuddered, not daring to say another word. Linley couldn't help but be surprised. It seems as though this Patriarch isn't just one-sidedly supporting this Emmanuel. Given this Patriarch's temper, it seems as though no matter who you are, you'd best not offend him. Linley wasn't a rash person either. This was the only son of their ancestor, the Azure Dragon. The man who had been the Patriarch of the Azure Dragon clan for countless years. The person in the clan whose word was law, the leader of the entire Four Divine Beasts clan. How could authority like his be violated? Gislason glanced sideways at Linley and Emmanuel, then at the distant group of elders. He couldn't help but let out a cold snort. The two of you, and you elders. Follow me. As he spoke, Gislason flew into the air. Kid, you are in for it? Emmanuel glanced at Linley. The Patriarch hates it when people challenge his authority. And then, he flew into the air as well. Linley also glanced into the distance. Those elders all followed behind, not one of them daring to make any sound. I wonder what type of person this Patriarch is. Linley had no choice but to fly along as well. In that short exchange he had just had, he was able to tell that the power of the Patriarch far outstripped his own. For the Patriarch to kill him definitely wouldn't be difficult. Right now, he was here in the Skirite Mountains along with all of his friends and family. It was best just to swallow his anger at present. Linley turned to glance at Delia, Bibi, Tarasi, and the others, all of whom were back at Death Valley staring at him, their eyes filled with worry. Boss, be careful. Don't anger that Patriarch. I have the feeling he's not a good person to piss off. Bibi sent through their spiritual link worriedly. That Patriarch's gaze caused even me to feel terror. Honestly. I know. Don't worry. You all go back for now. Linley sent back spiritually. At the same time, Linley also followed Emmanuel and the patriarch together. Gislason himself flew up in front by himself, not saying a single word, while the elders and Linley also followed without making a single sound, feeling quite pressured. Linley, in a while, when chatting with the patriarch, be careful of what you say. Don't make the patriarch angry. The handsome youth, Elder Garvey, drew near to Linley and sent through divine sense. Thank you. Linley sent back through divine sense. Don't think this is a small matter. Let me tell you this. The patriarch hates it when clansmen kill each other. In addition, he will not accept anyone disobeying him. In the entire clan, only the Grand Elder is able to sway the patriarch. Garvey said solemnly. If you disobey his will just a single time further, even if the Grand Elder comes, she won't be able to rescue you. Linley nodded gratefully. Elder Garvey, how do you think the patriarch will deal with me? Linley wasn't confident. After all, he had never met or spoken to this patriarch. Although in this short period of time, he was able to tell that the patriarch was extremely domineering, he didn't know anything else. Given that our clan is currently in a state of crisis, I expect that the patriarch probably won't kill you. He'll just punish you. Garvey sent back. Linley felt slightly more settled. Moments later, the patriarch Gislason as well as the various elders reached the top of the Azure Dragon clan's Dragon Avenue, where a large castle stood. This ancient castle's doors were open, and the guards all bowed respectfully. This group, with the patriarch leading them, slipped into the castle. The main hall of the castle. The patriarch sat high up above them on the throne, while the elders and Linley stood beneath the throne. He's like an emperor meeting with his subjects. Linley, seeing this, became all the more aware of the status the patriarch had in the clan. In some clans, the elders of the clan would have tremendous power. But in the Azure Dragon clan, it was completely different. The patriarch, Gislason, stared downwards. He couldn't help but let out a cold, icy snort. I said long ago that given the crisis our clan is in, what we need to do is work to eradicate those 8 great clans. Our clansmen should not be committing fratricide against each other. Even if you are to die, you should die in battle against the 8 great clans. For 2 of the clan's experts who are at the 7-star fiend level to battle each other requires the agreement of the entire assembly of elders, or my agreement, before the application can be approved. What? Has the entire assembly of elders agreed to their life and death duel? Gislason said furiously. Immediately, a silver-haired elder who was standing in the front said clearly, Father, this Linley had hid his power quite deeply. We had all previously viewed him as being just a god. Thus, to the clan, a god was nothing much. But 7-star fiends were precious to the clan. Permitting 2 7-star fiends to kill each other was something which the clan definitely would not do. If they wanted to engage in a life and death duel, they had to get permission from either the patriarch or the entire assembly of elders. This was also the primary reason why Gislason was so enraged when he saw Linley and Emmanuel engaged in a life and death duel. If one was to die, one had to die in a worthwhile manner. In battle against the 8 great clans. Enough. Gislason said coldly. The elder immediately fell silent. Although he was an elder, he was also Gislason's son. So what if a father rebuked his son? In the Azure Dragon clan, the 2 longest living members were Gislason and his sister. The others were all junior to them. This was also one of the reasons why Gislason's word was law. This doesn't need to be discussed any further. Gislason said calmly. In the past, you weren't aware of Linley's power. Since it is now obvious that Linley has the power of a 7-star fiend, then this life and death duel can no longer proceed. Linley. Emmanuel. Do you have any objections? Gislason swept the two with his gaze. No objections. Emmanuel hurriedly said. No objections. Linley said as well. Very good. Gislason continued to stare at the two of them. Emmanuel, you previously believed Linley was just an ordinary god. I want to know, why would you, an elder, engage in a life and death duel with a god? Tell me the reason. Linley glanced sideways at Emmanuel. The reason Emmanuel wanted to kill him was for his sovereign artifact. Would Emmanuel dare admit it now? Emmanuel began to sweat, large beads appearing on his forehead. Patriarch, this Linley didn't show me any respect at all. He went too far. In my anger, I thus. An icy snort shook the entire palace. Emmanuel's body couldn't help but tremble. You dare to lie to my face? Gislason chuckled. I gave you a chance to tell the truth, but you didn't take it. Emmanuel's face instantly turned white. I won't kill you. Gislason stared coldly at him. The Grand Elder is currently in need of assistances. Starting tomorrow, go to the Grand Elder's side. As for what the Grand Elder will arrange for you to do, that's for her to decide. Emmanuel's body trembled, his heart filled with terror. Yes, Patriarch. Emmanuel still replied. Now, scram. Go stand over there. Gislason snapped with disgust. Emmanuel immediately retreated to one side of the main hall. Gislason's gaze now turned to Linley. The corner of his lips curved upward slightly. Linley, right? Yes, Patriarch. Linley replied. Over all these years, those people who dared to directly ignore my orders, do you know what happened to them? Gislason said. Linley trembled slightly. He couldn't help but have a bad feeling. Could it be that this Gislason was going to kill him? However, Linley still spoke out. Patriarch, it was less than a century ago that I returned to the Azure Dragon clan. I still know very few things regarding our Azure Dragon clan. Gislason's face instantly sank down. You really know how to equivocate. Linley suddenly found, to his amazement, that Gislason suddenly moved forward from the throne, walking directly in front of him. After inspecting Linley carefully, he immediately turned and walked to a side room by the side of the main hall. Linley, follow me. Everyone else, wait here. Yes, Patriarch. Linley immediately followed. After the Patriarch and Linley left, the other elders finally dared to let out sighs of relief. The Patriarch wants to speak privately with Linley. What do you think will happen? A private meeting with the Patriarch is definitely nothing good. Immediately, an elder spoke out with concern. The members of the Azure Dragon clan all held the Patriarch in dread and awe. If this were the past, Father would kill Linley. The silver-haired elder said. However, at present, Father probably will not kill him. However, although he won't kill him, his punishment definitely won't be a light one. It won't be any lighter than the punishment he gave Emmanuel. Immediately, the other elders looked towards Emmanuel. Emmanuel, by the side of the Grand Elder, you'll have a chance to truly serve the clan. Someone laughed. Humph! Emmanuel just let out a low snort. Emmanuel, tell the truth. What's the real reason why you insisted on killing Linley? The elders began to ask. Nobody believed that just because of a simple offense, Emmanuel would have gone so wild. Stop asking. Suddenly, a golden-haired elder barked out. Father! Emmanuel looked towards the golden-haired elder. This golden-haired elder was a third-generation expert of the Azure Dragon clan, and a figure who commanded great respect amongst the elders. After all, his mother was the Grand Elder. Tell me, what's this about? The golden-haired elder sent through divine sense. Emmanuel knew that his chance to gain the Coiling dragon ring was most likely lost. If he couldn't gain it, he couldn't let an outsider gain it either. Thus, he sent back through divine sense, Father, that Linley is carrying a soul-protecting sovereign artifact, the azure dragon ring of our ancestor. The golden-haired elder was instantly stunned. What did you say? The golden-haired elder didn't dare to believe it. It's true. It is the azure dragon ring. There's no mistaking it. That Linley truly is just a god. The reason he was able to withstand a high god soul attack was because of that azure dragon ring. Emmanuel hurriedly sent through divine sense. Many thoughts immediately flashed through the mind of the golden-haired elder. Emmanuel looked at his father. The azure dragon ring won't end up in my hands. However, Father, as long as you strive to seize that azure dragon ring, it shouldn't be too hard for you. Kid, you should have told me sooner. The golden-haired elder glanced at him. But telling me now isn't too late either. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 18, Punishment. In the quiet side room, Gislason was seated on a chair, while Linley was standing off to one side. Gislason just looked at Linley, looked at him quietly, not saying a word. The pressure that filled this side room caused Linley to unconsciously feel fear. The patriarch summoned me here, but he isn't saying anything. What is he going to do? Linley was panicking. After standing in the side room for a long time, Linley finally couldn't resist from speaking out. Patriarch. Gislason, startled out of his pondering, looked at Linley. He let out a low sigh, that icy, tyrannical aura that had been present in the main palace hall now gone from his face. The only thing left was grief. Gislason sighed, Linley, where are you from? From another plane. Linley said. The Yulon plane, right. Gislason said casually. Linley was startled. How did this Gislason know? Could it be that he had already investigated Linley's background? Right. Linley nodded. The Yulon plane. It really is. Gislason raised his head. Silently, a tear dripped down his face, landing on the ground. Drip. As it hit the ground, the teardrop broke apart. The patriarch is crying. Linley was completely stunned. The leader of the Azure Dragon clan, this ultimate expert, Gislason, was crying? Linley could even understand it if Gislason wanted to kill him, but why had Gislason just shed a tear? Let me take a look at your Azure Dragon ring. There's no need to remove the blood binding. Gislason let out a low sigh. Azure Dragon ring. Linley stared in astonishment at Gislason. After the Emmanuel affair, he had already changed the appearance of the coiling dragon ring. From outside appearances, there was no way anyone could tell that his ring was a sovereign artifact. Gislason's forehead furrowed. Raising his head up, he looked at Linley. I told you to give me your Azure Dragon ring and let me take a look at it. Don't worry. I'm not being greedy for your Azure Dragon ring. I have my own. As he spoke, Gislason stretched out his right hand. Linley looked at it. Indeed, on his right hand, there was a ring that was completely identical to the coiling dragon ring. Only, the color was azure. Originally, Father refined two soul-protecting sovereign artifacts, one for himself to use, and another which he gave me. Gislason said softly. Linley, astonished, stared at the ring on the patriarch's hand. That Azure Dragon ring was a complete, undamaged soul-protecting sovereign artifact. Patriarch, go ahead and look. Linley immediately tossed over his coiling dragon ring. Gislason's eyes lit up, and he immediately accepted the coiling dragon ring. Even the right hand which he used to hold this ring began to tremble slightly, and faint tears appeared in his eyes. Father! Father! Gislason stared at this coiling dragon ring as though it were an unsurpassingly holy object. This is the material it was made of. Right, Gislason stroked it, his eyes closed. Linley had never been certain as to what the coiling dragon ring was made of. In the Yulon plain, Linley didn't know, and even now, he still didn't know. This sovereign artifact is damaged, right? Gislason opened his eyes, then tossed the coiling dragon ring back to Linley. Right. Linley nodded. What's the situation on the damage? Gislason asked. The soul-protecting sovereign artifact appears as a membrane. On the surface of it, there is a small hole. Just a single hole. The other parts of it are completely undamaged. Linley didn't lie. A single small hole. Gislason frowned. Capable of killing my father and the rest of the 4 sovereigns, and also break through a sovereign artifact, just a small hole. Gislason's mind raced through many possibilities. Just from the hole in the sovereign artifact, Gislason had already come to a conclusion regarding the killer. It was definitely one of those people. As soon as Gislason thought of who the enemy was, he felt helpless. The enemy definitely doesn't care at all about little people like us. Even the most powerful of high gods is nothing in front of a sovereign. Gislason already stood at the very precipice of high gods. Unfortunately, compared to a sovereign, he didn't have any ability to fight back at all. The enemy was able to kill 4 great sovereigns. What was a few high gods? Patriarch, is the clan going to confiscate my ring? Linley asked, worried. Gislason glanced at him, then said, since father chose you to be the inheritor of this azure dragon ring, then you being in possession of this azure dragon ring is father's will. Father's will is something which nobody, no matter who they are, is qualified to change. Linley's heart calmed down. As Gislason looked at Linley, he couldn't help but think of his father. In the past, their ancestor, the Azure Dragon, had been very caring towards his son and daughter. As for the grandsons and future generations of the clan, the Azure Dragon hadn't cared too much. Patriarch, I am puzzled about one thing. Linley couldn't help but ask. Linley was extremely puzzled as to how this Gislason had recognized the Azure Dragon ring. He had changed the appearance of his coiling dragon ring, and it didn't emit any aura at all. How could Gislason tell just by looking at it that this coiling dragon ring was special? Could it be the material? But from the outside, unless one looked at it closely, there was no way to discover anything unusual about the material. Puzzled. Speak. Gislason revealed a rare hint of a smile. Patriarch, how did you discover that my ring is the Azure Dragon ring? I don't understand. Linley said hurriedly. Haha, Gislason began to laugh. As a sovereign artifact, once its aura is hidden, there's no way one can recognize it from the surface. You've also changed the appearance of the ring. How could I tell, just by looking at it? Linley was mystified. Patriarch, then why did you say that I definitely had the Azure Dragon ring? Because of your body. Gislason laughed. Body. Linley was puzzled. Your body is extremely powerful. Even in our Azure Dragon clan, your body's power should rank as the 4th most powerful. Gislason said. Even the 3rd and 4th generation members cannot compare to you in terms of body strength. If a person's body was powerful, that meant they had a sovereign artifact? Linley still didn't understand. However, he was indeed proud of how powerful his body was. Is the power of your body related to the absorption of a drop of water-type sovereign's might? Gislason asked. Linley, rather surprised, nodded. It is. Linley, think about it. The ancestor of our Azure Dragon clan was a sovereign. How could our clan possibly be lacking in water-type sovereign's might? Gislason asked him. Linley couldn't help but nod. Sovereign's might, to sovereigns, was like divine power to deities. Naturally, it wouldn't be too precious. However, this drop of liquid sovereign's might still had to be formed through the compression of quite a bit of gaseous divine sovereign power. Gislason continued, every single elder of the clan is in possession of a drop of water-type sovereign's might. But why is it that virtually none of them have bodies as strong as yours? Linley was immediately stumped. Right. These elders were all descendants of the Azure Dragon clan as well, and they all had the lineage of the Azure Dragon. They also all had sovereign's might. Why hadn't their bodies become as powerful as Linley's? Gislason sighed. Using sovereign's might to strengthen and transform the body, this was the ultimate technique which Father developed only after he himself became a sovereign. Father is a sovereign, but he didn't create a sovereign artifact-level armor. This was because the draconic scales of his body, in defensive power, were already comparable to sovereign artifacts. Gislason said with great pride. Linley couldn't help but be stunned. Sovereign artifacts, the most terrifyingly powerful artifacts of legends. But their ancestor, the Azure Dragon, actually was so powerful that his body was like a sovereign artifact. To strengthen one's body to the level of our ancestor, there was only one way. This way, however, had three preconditions. Gislason said. First, you have to be a member of the Azure Dragon clan. Second, you have to have the most precious blood essence of our ancestor himself. Third, you have to have sovereign's might. Blood essence. Linley was surprised. Right. And it must be blood essence from after our ancestor became a sovereign. Gislason sighed. This blood essence is the distilled essence of his blood. Only descendants of the Azure Dragon clan are capable of absorbing this distilled blood essence. Only after absorbing it can one become like the ancestor, to naturally absorb sovereign's might and strengthen one's body. The amount of blood essence you absorb also determines how much sovereign's might you can absorb. Gislason said. Linley thought back to that golden drop of blood. I didn't realize that was actually the blood essence of my ancestor, the distilled essence of his blood. Your body is so powerful, you definitely absorbed a drop of distilled blood essence. However, where did that drop you absorbed come from? Gislason continued, when our ancestor created those sovereign artifacts, in order to make the sovereign artifacts possess semi-sentience, he dripped a single drop of his blood essence into them. Thus, I was certain that you had acquired a sovereign artifact. Aside from this, there was no other possible explanation. Gislason said. Linley now understood. Our ancestor had two sovereign artifacts. One was a weapon-type sovereign artifact, while the other was a soul-protecting sovereign artifact. Because I already know where the weapon-type sovereign artifact is, thus I was certain that the sovereign artifact you were carrying could only possibly be that soul-protecting sovereign artifact, the Azure Dragon Ring. Hearing these words, the many questions which had puzzled Linley over these years were finally answered. No wonder I was unable to absorb the other 2 drops of sovereign's might. Linley said to himself. He had absorbed a single drop of that blood essence, and so he was only able to withstand a single physical transformation from sovereign's might. All right. Let's go out now. Gislason said. Yes, Patriarch. Linley, in his heart, didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. So the reason Gislason had summoned him for a private meeting was because he wanted to look at the coiling dragon ring and ask about the damage it had sustained. As for punishment, Gislason hadn't said a single word. But what Linley himself didn't understand was, when Gislason had seen him, he had thought of his father, the Azure Dragon. Naturally, he wouldn't punish Linley much. In the main hall. He's coming. The Patriarch is coming. These elders all immediately stopped talking and rose to their feet with respect. Gislason's face returned to its usual icy expression, and he walked to the throne at the front of the palace and sat down. As for Linley, he stood alongside with the elders. Linley glanced sideways at Emmanuel, who just sneered coldly at him. This Emmanuel definitely has some bad ideas. If I find an opportunity, I have to kill him. Linley had encountered countless waves and storms in his life. Naturally, he could determine that between himself and Emmanuel, the conflict was now at a level where it would only end with one party's death. I already know clearly what has happened. Patriarch Gislason swept his gaze across the people below. Emmanuel and the golden-haired elder, hearing this, couldn't help but be shocked. Linley disobeyed my orders. This was a pardonable misunderstanding. However, it can be considered that I have already punished him. Gislason continued. Linley was stunned. Punished. It seemed as though although they had chatted for quite a bit, he hadn't been punished at all. However, everyone is now also aware of Linley's power. According to the rules of the clan, once a clansman has reached the 7-star fiend level of power, he will be bestowed the position of elder. Gislason continued. Emmanuel's eyes immediately turned red. The many elders in the hall couldn't help but turn to look at Linley. Elder. Linley had been pondering about Gislason lying about punishing him, but in the blink of an eye, the punishment had indeed come. The patriarch, Gislason, waved his hand, and instantly, a neatly folded cape as well as a set of azure armor, along with quite a few scattered objections such as medallions, drifted towards Linley. Linley was stunned, but he immediately bowed respectfully. Thank you, Patriarch. Linley immediately accepted those items. From today onwards, Linley is the 36th elder in the Assembly of Elders. Gislason announced. Quite a few elders nodded in a friendly manner towards Linley. Elder Garvey immediately sent through divine sense, Linley, congratulations. However, you'd best immediately put on those clothes on immediately. Generally speaking, elders are required to wear their uniform within the clan. But of course, your own residence is an exception. Linley immediately bound all with blood. Linley's body flashed, and that azure armor with the complicated golden embroidered suddenly appeared on Linley's body, while that gleaming, multicolored cape also appeared on his back. After having put the uniform on, he now appeared identical in outfit to the other people in the main hall. All right. Everyone can leave now. Gislason said. Yes, Patriarch. The group of elders all bowed, then left. Foreign Foer Han, Emmanuel, you two, father and son, stay behind. Gislason suddenly said. Immediately, Emmanuel and that golden-haired elder looked at each other, halting their steps. As for Linley and the rest, they all flew out. Linley bid farewell to each of the elders, then immediately flew towards the gorge where he lived. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 19, Elder. Dragon Avenue. Linley was flying at high speed through the curving path. Previously, because of the life and death duel, I angered the patriarch. As I left with him, I was worrying if I would face a dangerous situation. But who would have imagined that not only would I not be punished, in the blink of an eye, I would become an elder of the clan. Linley looked at the gold-patterned azure armor he was wearing, and couldn't help but laugh. The changes in the world are quite marvelous indeed. Linley sighed. Elder. Many of the patrolling soldiers on Dragon Avenue, upon seeing Linley, immediately saluted respectfully. Linley glanced at these patrolling soldiers and nodded slightly. Linley flew past the many saluting patrolling warriors. Watching Linley fly past, one patrolling warrior frowned. This elder, seems to be that Linley who took part in the life and death duel. Captain, you went as well. That was Linley, wasn't it? I didn't see too clearly. It did seem to be Linley. The captain of the squad said. It was Linley. I saw him clearly. What, that Linley, the one who took part in the life and death duel, became an elder? Quite a few patrolling warriors who hadn't watched the life and death duel were puzzled. Is it strange that he became an elder? If it hadn't been that the patriarch had hurried over in time, Elder Emmanuel would have been killed. That Lord Linley definitely has the power of a 7-star fiend. After all, thousands of patrolling warriors had watched that duel. Thus, as Linley flew along Dragon Avenue, he was recognized by quite a few people. Soon, The news that Linley had become an elder was spread quite quickly amongst those patrolling warriors. Here we are. Linley looked at the gorge in front of him. His body transformed into a streak, and he charged straight into it. Linley flew directly towards the Yulon branch. In mid-air, Linley saw that at the door to his residence, a group of people were gathered. Barak, Tarasi, Olivier, and tens of others were there. I hope Linley is fine. Hazard sighed softly. It's so rare for our Yulon branch to produce an expert like him. If he is, ugh. Unconsciously, everyone in the Yulon branch had considered Linley as the flag bearer for their branch. How could their flag bearer be allowed to fall? Who knows how the patriarch will punish Linley? Caesar said with concern as well. From what I saw at Death Valley, the patriarch is very severe. Olivier said with a frown. Don't worry. The patriarch won't kill him, at least. Barak said. He knew very well the danger which the Four Divine Beasts clan was currently in. At a time like this, the patriarch wouldn't be willing to kill any of their experts. Delia just continued to frown, quietly waiting. The boss is coming. Bibi suddenly said while raising his head to look upwards. Linley is coming. The group of people immediately followed Bibi's gaze, staring into the sky. From above that faint fog, a human figure was descending at high speed. Barak and the others only saw a blurry, indistinct multicolored light. The figure landed. It was Linley. Barak, Tarasi, and the others all stared at Linley, slack-jawed. Linley's entire body was clad in azure armor, which in turn was covered with complicated golden embroidery patterns, giving off an ancient, noble aura. That cape which Linley wore over his shoulders, in peculiar, had unfathomably mysterious runes atop it and had all colors of light flowing atop it. It was the uniform of an elder. Linley. Barak, Ryan, Dylan, and the others all stared in astonishment at Linley. Clan leader. Linley laughed as he looked at everyone. Linley, you've become an elder. Hazard's eyes were bulging. In the Azure Dragon clan, elders were definitely the true, high-level members of the clan. Every single elder was a 7-star fiend, capable of making the countless members of their clan venerate and worship them. They all knew that Linley's power was formidable, but who would have imagined that Linley would become an elder? Everyone, don't stand outside. Let's talk inside. Linley laughed as he spoke. Right. All into the living room. Barak came to his senses and said hurriedly, Linley, when you left with the patriarch and the elders, what exactly happened? You have to explain clearly to us. We've been puzzled for so long. Clan leader, Linley was just about to speak. You can just address me as Barak. Barak looked at the elder's uniform which Linley was wearing. Linley, you are an elder now. There's only one person whom you can now address as clan leader or patriarch. Linley understood what Barak meant, and he laughed. Within the gorge, I'll still address you as clan leader. Barak, seeing the look on Linley's face, knew that arguing would be pointless. All he could do was assent. All the important members of the Yulon branch gathered around. They listened to Linley explain, and Linley naturally just gave a brief explanation, skipping over some secrets. While hearing what had happened, everyone celebrated on behalf of Linley, while at the same time feeling proud of him. Linley, the 36th elder of the Assembly of Elders. The Yulon branch's status in the Azure Dragon clan was very low. However, now that their branch had produced an elder, the status of the Yulon branch had just completely changed. After all, the entire clan only had so many elders. For their branch to have an elder meant that their clansmen of their branch would be more confident while in the Skirite Mountains. The next morning. Dawn. Linley's room. Delia, I had been planning to quietly train until I became a high god, but, I'm sorry. Now that I'm an elder, most likely, our peaceful life won't last for much longer. Linley held Delia and said apologetically. Delia laughed, then raised her head to look at Linley. You don't have to say sorry. Linley. A voice rang out in Linley's mind. Linley was startled. He smiled apologetically towards Delia. I didn't expect it would come so fast. I just became an elder yesterday, but today, someone has already come looking for me. Go, then. Delia said. Linley nodded slightly, then immediately transformed into a blur, flying out of the room and into the skies above the gorge. A handsome youth dressed in elder's garb was standing there in mid-air. It was Elder Garvey. Linley. Garvey smiled as he spoke. Garvey, is there something you need? Linley asked. Yesterday, you became an elder. I imagine you don't know anything about the powers and responsibilities of elders. Garvey laughed calmly. The clan leader thus ordered me to come and give you a detailed explanation. Linley's eyes lit up. Thank you. Are you going to make me just stand here as I talk? Garvey laughed. Linley glanced around. At present, he and Garvey were standing in mid-air above the gorge. This was indeed a rather poor way to treat a guest. He immediately laughed. Garvey, let's go. Come to my residence. We'll have a good chat. As he spoke, Linley and Garvey, the two elders, flew directly downwards. At this time, a human figure descended towards the gorge. It was the person whom Linley had met on his first day in the Skirite Mountains, the person who wanted to embarrass the Yulon branch, Ashura. These past few days have been so boring. Those 8 great clans are always vigilantly watching our 4 divine beasts clan, and when we patrolling warriors are off duty, we still can't leave. We have to stay in the mountains. Fortunately, in half a month, it'll be time for my next 1000-year assignment. It'll be my turn to go patrol. Patrolling is better than always being here in this gorge. Ashura was in an excellent mood. But suddenly, Ashura turned his head to stare into the distance. 2 blurry figures had suddenly flickered and vanished. Elders. Ashura was shocked. 2 elders. Why did they come to an out-of-the-way place like our gorge? This gorge was a fairly remote place within the Azure Dragon clan's territory. How could an elder come here, normally? One of those 2 elders seemed so familiar from the back. Ashura frowned. Because half of the Great Valley was covered by fog, and given that the 2 elders moved too quickly, Ashura hadn't seen them clearly. That one seems a bit similar to Linley. But then, Ashura laughed. How is that possible? Linley belongs to the Yulon branch. Although his power is excellent, how can he compare to an elder, much less become one? That bit of ability he has is only enough to let him show off here in our gorge. Ashura laughed disdainfully, then flew out of the gorge. Within the living room, Linley and Garvey were chatting with each other. As they chatted, Linley began to get a clearer and clearer picture of many of the clan's affairs. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The power of the Assembly of Elders truly is enormous. In the entire Azure Dragon clan, virtually all affairs are managed by the elders. Although the patriarch is powerful, he normally never takes part in matters. Garvey, I've heard you say so many things. In the clan, the elders really are responsible for quite a few things. Linley laughed. I wonder what I will be assigned to manage. Don't be impatient. Right now, all tasks within the clan already have supervisors handling them. There's no lack or opening right now. Thus, for now, there's nothing you have to do. Garvey laughed. Right now, you can simply enjoy the perks and powers of being an elder without having to take on any responsibilities. Your residence and some other things have already been arranged. Garvey said. Also, you can also now apply for your Yulon branch to be moved to a nicer place. No need. I'm fine living here. Linley frowned. Garvey, from what you are saying, it seems that right now, I have nothing I have to do. The clan was currently in a period of crisis. How could he be allowed to be so leisurely? Of course you have things to do. Only, it isn't now. Wait for the conclave of elders. Garvey said. The conclave of elders is held once every 1,000 years, and during each conclave, different assignments will be meted out to each elder. As an elder, by then, you'll be assigned some tasks as well. Linley now understood. Thus, for now, continue enjoying your leisurely life. After the conclave, you won't be able to, even if you want to. Garvey chuckled. The sort of leisurely life you currently have is something which the other elders all dream of but can't have. Linley chuckled as well. Oh, right. Garvey, how long will it be before the next conclave of elders? Given that they met every 1,000 years, perhaps he would have centuries of leisurely time remaining. 15 days. Garvey said. 15 days. Linley was astonished. 1,000 years between conclaves, but it just so happened that he was only 15 days off from the next one? Right. That's why I told you to treasure these leisurely days. Garvey laughed as he stood up. All right, I need to go. When the conclave of elders begins, there will be someone who will come invite you to attend. Linley stood up as well, escorting Garvey as he left. Within the gorge. That Linley of the Yulon branch, he became an elder? Impossible. It's true. Those members of the Yulon branch said it so smugly. From the looks of it, it shouldn't be false. But to tell the truth, the smugness which those Yulon branch members have right now is really irritating. They're just blowing hot air, I wager. The gorge was quickly filled with variations on this sort of conversation. The Yulon branch had hundreds of members. These clansmen, after knowing that Linley had become an elder, immediately went to brag and show off in front of the other branches within the gorge. All people care about face. Deities were the same. Linley was able to become an elder of the clan. The formerly perpetually snubbed Yulon branch's clansmen naturally wanted to show off for a bit. Ashru was walking towards his own residence. He was preparing for his rotation. Lord Ashru, I heard that Linley became an elder. Is it true? Several people came to ask Ashru. Ashru was a high god, a formidable figure within the gorge. Don't believe the braggadocio of those Yulon branch people. Linley, become an elder? How could that be possible? Ashru snickered. Also, just yesterday, I saw Linley. He was wearing ordinary clothes. What he didn't know was that in the gorge, Linley didn't want to be wearing his elder's uniform all day long. Suddenly, he stared. He suddenly remembered how some time ago, he had seen those two elders' figures from afar. A suspicion began to arise within his heart. I told you it was impossible. Several people immediately began to speak out. The Yulon branch, produce an elder. In a bit, I'll rotate and be on duty. I'll go ask the other warriors of the clan and I'll know then. Ashru said. The gorge was simply too remote and its experts too few in number. It thus also took a long time for those of them within to learn news regarding the clan. Those people all immediately and respectfully escorted Ashru away. But right at this moment, Elder Linley. A bright voice suddenly echoed throughout the gorge. Immediately, within the gorge, every person, whether those in training or those chatting in pairs, or those who were flying in the air, was stunned. Ashru was stunned as well. Immediately, a large number of figures flew towards the source of that voice. They all looked carefully. 3 black-robed figures were flying downwards respectfully, while Linley himself was flying out as well. Is the conclave of elders beginning? Linley said. Yes, elder. The 3 black-robed men bowed. Let's go, then. Linley immediately flew in the air, and those 3 black-robed figures followed behind respectfully. The many people in the gorge all stared, slack-jawed, At this scene, after seeing Linley dressed in an elder's uniform, with that flashing, gleaming cape, quite a few people were truly stunned. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 20, Conclave of Elders. As he strode into the large hall, Linley swept it with his gaze. Only 12 elders have arrived. The Azure Dragon clan had 36 elders. The other elders in the hall, upon seeing Linley, all laughed while greeting him. "Linley, sit over here." Elder Garvey beckoned towards him. Linley walked over and sat down by Garvey's side. This conclave of elders was held in a large hall, where a very large, dark red circular table was placed in the center, with a ring of chairs around the table. Linley swept it with his gaze and discovered, just 16 chairs. The round table was very large, and there was more than enough space for 40 chairs. But they had only 16 chairs prepared. "Garvey, there's only 16 chairs? Aren't there supposed to be 36 elders?" Linley said softly. "The elders of Bloodbath Gorge do not attend," Garvey explained. Linley sighed to himself. Bloodbath Gorge was the most central area of the entire Skirite Mountains. It was also the place where the most powerful experts of the Azure Dragon clan, the Vermilion Bird clan, the White Tiger clan, and the Black Tortoise clan gathered. The Azure Dragon clan had 20 elders stationed there. They won't even attend the conclave of elders. On the day that Linley had become an elder, there had only been 10 or so elders present in the palace. Not a single one of the elders who had been in the Bloodbath Gorge had come on that day either. The elders at Bloodbath Gorge truly are risking their lives to battle for the clan. 15 days ago, Linley had chatted with Garvey, and had discussed the responsibilities of elders. At that time, Garvey had explained Bloodbath Gorge to him. The 8 great clans were always watching like rapacious tigers. The 4 Divine Beasts clan were faced with great danger, and although they could hide in the Skirite Mountains and live their lives there like turtles hiding in their shells. Given the arrogance of the 4 Divine Beasts clan, how could they possibly forever hide? In addition, how could a large clan like theirs be perpetually cut off from the outside world? The 4 Divine Beasts clan was connected to the outside world, but the people who connected them would be slaughtered and attacked by the 8 great clans. Would the 4 Divine Beasts clan just quietly accept this? Impossible. The 4 Divine Beasts clan would counterattack, deliver vicious counter blows to its enemies. Thus, the Bloodbath Gorge was formed. Bloodbath Gorge was where more than half of the experts of the 4 Divine Beasts clan were gathered. The Azure Dragon clan had 20+ elders, and of course, many 6-star fiends were present as well. The requirement for one to enter Bloodbath Gorge was having the power of a 6-star fiend. Bloodbath Gorge, the gathering spot for the true elites of the 4 Divine Beasts clan. The 16 elders are all present. A silver-haired elder at the side of the round table said clearly. This millennial conclave of elders, compared to the previous one, has an additional elder present. This is something worthy of celebration. Quite a few elders grinned towards Linley. Linley smiled back at each elder in a show of friendliness, then glanced at the silver-haired elder. Linley recognized this silver-haired elder. He was the second elder of the Assembly of Elders, the son of Patriarch Gislason. With regards to everyone's assignments, let's set that aside for now. The second elder said solemnly. Let me first explain to everyone the final battle results of our 20+ elders of our Azure Dragon clan in Bloodbath Gorge, over the past millennium. The faces of all the elders turned solemn. Bloodbath Gorge was a representation of the constant slaughter and warfare between the 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 great clans. Our 20+ elders of the Azure Dragon clan, in the past millennium, killed 2 enemy 7-star fiends and 36 enemy 6-star fiends. The number of other high gods slain was not recorded. The second elder said forcefully. So many? Linley was secretly shocked. 1,000 years, to deities, was a very short period of time. But in 1,000 short years, The Azure Dragon clan alone had killed 2 of the enemy's 7 star fiends, and 36 of their 6 star fiends. How many enemies, then, had they killed in Bloodbath Gorge in total? The battle between the 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 great clans truly is vicious. Linley said to himself. However, amongst our 20+ elders, 2 of our elders had their power dramatically reduced. They were the 21st elder, Bangdun Bangdun, and the 9th elder, Jeffs Gfosi. Elder Bangdun's divine water clone was destroyed, and he no longer has the power of a 7-star fiend. He is currently in closed-door training. As for Jeffs, his most powerful clone, the divine water clone, was destroyed as well. Luckily, however, his original body has never fused a divine spark. His original body thus once more fused with the divine water spark and his strength is thus returned, but from this day forward, he will most likely find it incredibly hard to advance a single step. The 2nd elder said solemnly. Immediately, the atmosphere in the hall became depressed. 2 elders. One no longer has the power of a 7-star fiend, while the other won't be able to advance at all in the future. Linley sighed to himself. Linley knew what the rules of Bloodbath Gorge were. Those elders who went out to do battle all left their weaker divine clones within Bloodbath Gorge. That way, even if they died in battle outside, they would still have a surviving divine clone. Most likely, the enemies were doing the same. Although they described the battle accomplishment as being the killing of 2 7-star fiends, most likely, the divine clones of those 2 7-star fiends had similarly been left back at their own bases. So for the original body not to fuse with the divine spark actually has a benefit like this. The elder named Jeffs had his most powerful divine water clone destroyed, but his original body had never fused with the divine spark, just like Linley. Thus, the elder could use his original body to constantly fuse with water-type divine spark, all the way to becoming a high god. This was because he already had the necessary insights into how to fuse the laws of water. Thus, even if he became a high god through fusing a divine spark this time, his power wouldn't be much different from in the past. Only, in the future, it would be very hard to advance further. For example, if Linley's divine earth clone was destroyed, he would become unable to use the Blackstone space. However, Linley absolutely could let his original body continue to fuse a demigod divine earth spark, a god divine earth spark, and a high god divine earth spark. When the time came, Linley would still be able to execute the Blackstone space. Only, he wouldn't be able to make any further improvements. This time, aside from the 2 aforementioned elders retiring from Bloodbath Gorge, there are also 6 elders who have fought in Bloodbath Gorge for 3,000 years already who will be retiring from Bloodbath Gorge. Thus, of our group of 16, there needs to be 3 who will fill the positions. Immediately, the elders began to chat with each other through divine sense or ponder to themselves. 3 elders need to go to Bloodbath Gorge. Linley also knew what going to Bloodbath Gorge represented. Because of the order of the Patriarch, punishing Emmanuel to go serve with the Grand Elder, thus of the 16 of us, Emmanuel absolutely must go to Bloodbath Gorge. 2 more must therefore be chosen out of the remaining 15. Linley couldn't help but glance at the distant Emmanuel out of the corner of his eyes. Emmanuel remained silent, his face unchanging. Clearly, he already knew about this. Everyone, let's choose 2 elders to participate. The 2nd elder looked at everyone. Me. A voice rang out from next to Linley. It was Elder Garvey. Elder Garvey laughed. I wanted to go last time, but in terms of power, I was weaker than the others, so I was excluded. This time, it is my turn, right? I nominate myself for a slot. Immediately, another elder spoke out. The other elders are battling for the clan outside, while I am remaining within the mountain. I feel miserable. Garvey, it's not your turn yet. Yet another elder spoke out. I nominate myself. There were differences in power amongst the elders as well. Garvey was clearly a fairly weak one. As for Bloodbath Gorge, the more powerful one was, the better it was when they entered. I'll go as well. Of the 16 elders, one of the 3 females, a jade-haired woman, laughed. I truly wish to emulate the Grand Elder and to serve with her fighting for the clan. For the sake of the clan, I'll go as well. Linley, quite surprised, watched this scene. Originally, he thought that people would try to push it off onto others. However, Linley now discovered that 8 of the 16 were so valiant as to volunteer themselves, casting concerns regarding life and death to the side. Enough. The golden-haired elder shouted with a frown. Linley turned to look. The golden-haired elder was the 3rd elder of the clan, the son of the Grand Elder. His name was Foran. Foran had another status, he was the father of Emmanuel. The golden-haired elder, Foran, said in a low voice. I understand that everyone wishes to do battle for the sake of the clan. But in battle, the more powerful a person is, the better. Thus, in my heart, I have made 2 choices. The first is. Foran suddenly pointed at Linley. Elder Linley. Linley was slightly startled. Foran, the question of who goes is a decision each person individually. It isn't a matter for others to decide upon. The second elder said. Foran furrowed his forehead stubbornly, then said in a clear voice, as members of the clan, and with the clan facing danger, how can any of us ignore this? Look at the 20 elders in Bloodbath Gorge. The vast majority of them have been battling there for thousands of years. According to the rules, every 1,000 years, they can retire. But they have not. It is all for the sake of the clan. For the sake of making it so that our Azure Dragon clan's prestige will not lower. Foran looked at Linley. The reason I choose Linley is because Linley's gravitational space is very unusual, with the power of the gravity being miraculously great. Even 7-star fiends will generally have their speed greatly reduced within his gravitational space. When experts do battle, if Linley were to coordinate with several elders, his power can definitely be unleashed to an extremely great effect. The elders in the hall all immediately understood. If Linley were to coordinate with several elders while using his gravitational space, it would indeed be a tremendously effective supporting measure. Linley's own power has been made clear to everyone as well. He vastly surpasses Emmanuel. As I see it, just based on the power of his body, in our clan, Linley should rank number 4. Even I feel I am inferior. Foran looked at Linley. Linley, why don't you speak for yourself? Are you willing to go? Linley laughed as he looked at Foran. 3rd elder, I want to ask, who is the other person you have chosen? Foran said solemnly, the 2 people I selected, one is Linley, while the other is myself. I believe that in terms of strength, nobody here dares to say that they have definitely surpassed me. Last time, I didn't go to Bloodbath Gorge, I've regretted it for a long time now. This time, I insist on going. Linley frowned. The other person Foran had chosen was actually Foran himself. Linley. The second elder looked at Linley. What are your own thoughts? These elders all admitted that in solo combat, some of them would dare say that they were not inferior to Linley. But in terms of group combat, none of them dared to say that they were superior to Linley. In group combat, the effect of Linley's Blackstone space truly was too good. Once his Blackstone space appeared, his own power would not be impacted, but the opponent's speed would drastically drop. Even 7-star fiends, in a battle situation like this, would be defeated lopsidedly. I'll go. Linley nodded. Linley, not bad. Foran laughed as he spoke. Linley just smiled back at him, while musing suspiciously to himself, this Foran seems to want to force me to go to Bloodbath Gorge. The way he acted just now, if I were to refuse to go, most likely the other elders would look down upon me. Why does he want to force me to go? Can it have to do with his son, Emmanuel. All right. The people have been chosen. Foreign, Emmanuel, Linley, the three of you, after the conclusion of this conclave, can go directly to Bloodbath Gorge. The second elder looked at Linley and the other two. The three of you, take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves. These 4 words caused Linley to feel relieved of a sense of pressure he hadn't realized he had been bearing. Bloodbath Gorge. For some reason, Linley suddenly felt a hint of anticipation. Ever since he had learned that the clan was in a crisis, Linley had known that one day, he too would battle on behalf of the clan. Only, he hadn't imagined that the day would come so quickly. Linley and the other 2 selectees were going to Bloodbath Gorge. Naturally, they wouldn't be assigned any other activities. After the conclave of elders concluded, the other 13 elders all bade farewell to and sent off Linley, Foreign, and Emmanuel. Linley, I truly want to go with you. Garvey laughed. Remember. Help kill a few extra enemies for me. Linley smiled and nodded. Garvey's face suddenly turned solemn. Remember, you need to be careful. Protecting yourself is most important. Killing enemies is secondary to that. Right. Linley nodded. Enough. The 3 of you, you can head off. After arriving in Bloodbath Gorge, obey the commands of the Grand Elder. The second elder said. Linley, Foreign, and Emmanuel immediately made their farewells to each of the elders, then immediately started to fly into the heart of the Skirite Mountains. The Skirite Mountains were divided into 4 major areas, which each of the 4 Divine Beasts clan were in control of. In the core of the Skirite Mountains, deep within a mountain valley, was Bloodbath Gorge. The place where the elites of the 4 Divine Beasts clan gathered. The security here truly is tight. Linley looked at the air above the gorge. There was an enormous number of roving warriors on patrol. Not just the azure armored warriors of the Azure Dragon clan, but also the golden armored warriors of the Vermilion Bird clan. There were patrolling warriors from all 4 of the 4 Divine Beasts clans. When these people saw Linley's group of 3 fly over, they immediately saluted. Linley, Emmanuel, and Foreign flew directly into the depths of the gorge. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 21, The Grand Elder. Within the quiet, gloomy depths of Bloodbath Gorge, 3 human figures were descending at high speed, landing on the ground. Linley inspected his surroundings. Bloodbath Gorge was sparsely populated. As he stared straight forward, the only thing he could clearly see was an erect stone monument. As for the other buildings that could vaguely be seen through the mist, there was no way to see them clearly. There are so many soldiers of the 4 Divine Beasts clan above the gorge, but so few people within Bloodbath Gorge itself. That makes sense. After all, everyone in here is at least a 6-star fiend. Linley continued to carefully inspect Bloodbath Gorge. As for Emmanuel and Foreign, they strode forward with large steps. Just as they walked away, Emmanuel turned his head to look at Linley. Linley, you've never been here before, right? No, I've never been here before. Linley didn't have any goodwill towards Emmanuel at all. Whoosh! Suddenly, a cold wind began to howl. Linley felt his body turn cold, and he couldn't help but be startled. The wind is actually so icy, here in Bloodbath Gorge. Foreign couldn't help but laugh. Linley. Bloodbath Gorge is at the heart of the Skyfire Mountains, and is an extremely cold location. The cold wind within the gorge would cause any demigods who came here to immediately be frozen. However, to you, Linley, this cold wind naturally doesn't have much impact. Elder Foreign, let's continue to move forward. Linley couldn't be bothered to chat too much with this father-son pair in front of him. He immediately advanced deeper into the gorge. There were quite a few round stones located within Bloodbath Gorge, as well as some wild grass. However, the center of it was a neatly paved stone road. In front of Bloodbath Gorge, on one side of the stone road, there was a tall, massive stone monument. The stone monument was covered with two dark red words that were written in cursive, like flying dragons or dancing phoenixes. The two words were, bloodbath. Linley, upon seeing these two words, sensed a bloodthirsty, murderous aura emanate from it, and he couldn't help but feel his own murderous desires rise in response. Foreign, Emmanuel, so it's actually the two of you this time. Ha ha, a straightforward, clear laugh rang out. Linley turned to look, and saw an amiable, friendly-looking middle-aged man laugh as he walked over. This man had long sideburns, but they were very neatly trimmed, giving him quite a fresh, sharp appearance. Linley looked at the newcomers. "Our house I." Foreign laughed and went to greet him, giving the man with the sideburns a big hug. "Long time no see. It really has been quite some time since we've met." This man named House beamed towards Foreign as well, then looked at Linley. Rather puzzled, he said, "I knew that this time, 3 elders were coming, but I've never met this one before." "Oh. I know." House had a look of sudden understanding on his face, and he laughed as he said to Linley, "In Bloodbath Valley, I've heard that our Azure Dragon clan has a new elder." "I am House." "Elder Linley, right." House laughed as he extended his hand. "Right. Elder House, greetings." Linley laughed and extended his hand as well. Linley had a good impression of House, but as for Foreign and Emmanuel, Linley, from the bottom of his heart, disliked this father-son pair. Both Emmanuel and Foreign made him feel as though they were sinister and vicious. Emmanuel's actual actions, in turn, had confirmed Linley's judgment. "We warmly welcome the 3 of you. Come, let's go meet the Grand Elder." House laughed. "Mother." Foreign's eyes couldn't help but light up. Linley glanced sideways, seeing the looks on Foreign and Emmanuel's faces. The two clearly were very eager to meet the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder and Patriarch Gislason were actual siblings, brother and sister, and in the clan, her power was second only to that of the patriarchs. "Linley, it's been a long time since our clan has had a new elder." House said warmly. "I've heard that you've previously sparred with Emmanuel, and that you are incredibly strong. In the future, when you do battle for the clan, you definitely have to win some glory for our Azure Dragon clan." "Definitely." Linley laughed and nodded. Foreign, seeing how House was continuously chatting with Linley, couldn't help but interrupt. "House, what's the current situation in the struggle between our 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 great clans? How good can it be?" House shook his head and sighed. "The 8 great clans are simply relying on superior numbers to win. All combined, their 8 clans have more 7-star fiends than we do. If we continue fighting like this, most likely in just 10 or 20,000 years, our entire 4 Divine Beasts clan will have less than 10 7-star fiends." Hearing this, Linley was shocked. "In 10 or 20,000 years, we'll lose that many?" Linley couldn't help but say. "Currently, our 4 Divine Beasts clan should have nearly 100 7-star fiends. The Azure Dragon clan alone had 36. The 4 clans, combined, should have more than 100 7-star fiends. How could it be possible that in as short a period of time as 10 or 20,000 years, only 10 would be left?" "Linley, I hear that you just joined the clan recently." House said resignedly. "You aren't too familiar with the situation. However, I trust that at the Conclave of Elders, you should have learned of our losses in the past 1,000 years." Linley nodded. In the past 1,000 years, they had killed 2 enemy 7-star fiends, while 2 of their own 7-star fiends had been weakened as well. Our Azure Dragon clan alone has lost 2 7-star fiends in the past 1,000 years. Of course, Jeffs, when using his original body to fuse with the divine spark, will be able to recover his strength. But still, he'll have lost any chance to gain in strength in the future." House said, "In 1,000 years, our 4 Divine Beasts clan, all combined, has lost 5. In especially brutal periods, it's normal to lose as many as 10 elders. You do the math. How many will we lose in 10,000 years? Linley did the math, and he was stunned. In 10,000 years, at least 70 or 80 elders would be doomed. That's why I said that if this continues, in 10 or 20,000 years, our clan will have lost almost all of our 7-star fiends. Our house said bitterly. Nothing we can do. The 8 great clans, even if we exhaust all of our elders against them, they will most likely still have half of their 7-star fiends remaining. Linley nodded. As soon as he had arrived in the Azure Dragon clan, Linley had heard that any one of those 8 great clans were comparable to the Azure Dragon clan. The number of 7-star fiends in the 8 great clans, all combined, definitely was far greater than the number the 4 Divine Beasts clan had. Linley, do you know how many elders we had before the ancestor died? Our house said. How many? Linley asked. More than 60. And that was just our Azure Dragon tribe. Our house said, and Linley couldn't help but sigh in shock. No wonder it was said that the 4 Divine Beasts clansmen dominated each of the major planes. Not only did we have a strong supporter, we ourselves had tremendous power. Only, while we were regrouping, enemies attacked from every direction. Linley, you must understand that the clans which pursued us all the way to the infernal realm just represent the minority. We have many enemies in the other planes. Our house said resignedly. The 4 Divine Beasts clan truly had too many enemies. As many as 8 clans were still in pursuit of them. Most likely, when the 4 Divine Beasts clan had been spread across each of the major planes, the number of enemies they had was far more than their current number. All we can do is go all out. Foreign said solemnly. Right. We can only go all out. Our house said as well. If we just hide in the Skirite mountains like turtles in a shell and don't even fight back, most likely we'll become the laughing stock of the major clans of the infernal realm. Our 4 Divine Beasts clan cannot be humiliated like that. While they were chatting, Linley and the others were heading deeper into Bloodbath Gorge. Within Bloodbath Gorge, there was an organized array of buildings that were arranged in rows like soldiers, divided into various areas. On the way over, Linley encountered small groups of experts as well, all of whom were at least of the 6-star fiend level of power. Linley couldn't help but sigh in amazement. This is the true foundation of a great clan. And a great clan which has fallen, at that. Linley was amazed, while at the same time, stunned by the savagery of the warfare between the 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 great clans. We've arrived at the Azure Dragon Palace. Our house said. Linley lifted his head. In front was a building that was at least 30 meters tall, completely dark red in color. At the tip of the building, there was something that was dimly glowing with azure light. There were 4 buildings of this appearance within Bloodbath Gorge. The Grand Elder is on the 5th floor of the Azure Dragon Palace. This palace is the place where we normally gather together. Our house said. He led Linley, Emmanuel, and Foreign directly to the 5th floor. The entire Azure Dragon Palace actually didn't even have a single maid or servant within. The main hall on the 5th floor appeared to be rather wide and empty. Where is the Grand Elder? Linley stared around the main hall, puzzled. Linley suddenly had a feeling, and he turned to look towards the side of the hall. He saw a tall, slender human figure fly over, her entire body enveloped in a long black robe. Her graceful, jade-green hair fell down past her waist, and her face was covered by a silver mask which had a strange light flowing atop it. As this person entered the main hall, our house and the others all fell silent. She is the Grand Elder. Linley looked at this person carefully. Whoosh! The mysterious woman's long robe rustled as she sat down on the head seat in the hall. She swept everyone present with her icy gaze, pausing momentarily on Linley, and then she said in a cold, clear voice, "You can all be seated." "Yes, Grand Elder." The 4 replied respectfully. Linley, puzzled, glanced at Foreign. Supposedly, Foreign was the son of the Grand Elder. But he, too, addressed her as Grand Elder? In his heart, he was puzzled, but Linley still sat down alongside Foreign and the others. Linley. The Grand Elder suddenly said while looking at Linley. Grand Elder. Linley bowed fractionally. I heard that you defeated Emmanuel, then became an elder. The Grand Elder said coolly. Correct. Linley immediately responded, but in his heart, he was puzzled. What does the Grand Elder mean by this? Is she warning me, or? Emmanuel is her grandson, after all. Although he didn't understand, Linley remained calm. I know that you and Emmanuel have some misgivings about each other. However, I hope that the two of you will be unified and will be able to work with each other. The Grand Elder said. Linley was startled. He couldn't help but turn to look at Emmanuel, who was also currently looking towards Linley. Work together with him. Linley felt that this was a huge joke. The Grand Elder's voice was like clashing steel. Ever since Father fell, our four Divine Beasts clan has been in unprecedentedly dire straits. Although we are now all assembled in Indigo Prefecture, we still meet with constant challenges and provocations. However, we are the four Divine Beasts clan. We, the members of the four Divine Beasts clan, will not allow ourselves to be humiliated. Although we can hide in the Skirite Mountains like a turtle in its shell, our proud clansmen will not submit and be humiliated. One elder after another, leading the elites of our clan, has gone out to do battle against the enemy. Any who challenges or provokes our clan will be punished. The experts of our four Divine Beasts clan are not as numerous as those of those 8 great clans. Thus, we absolutely must be unified. The Grand Elder swept her gaze across the people present. Linley, I don't care what sort of problems you and Emmanuel have had in the past. From today onward, you two are not permitted to battle against each other. If such a thing happens, I will be the first to kill both of you. Yes, Grand Elder. Linley and Emmanuel replied in unison. Our Azure Dragon Palace has, in total, 20 squads. Currently, there are 3 squads that do not have a captain. They are Squad 13, Squad 15, and Squad 19. The Grand Elder said calmly. I will make the arrangements. Linley. Linley took a step forward. From today onward, you will be the captain of Squad 13 of the Azure Dragon clan in Bloodbath Gorge. Yes. Linley acknowledged respectfully. The Grand Elder's gaze turned to Foreign, her voice as cold as ever. Foreign, from today onward, you will be the captain of Squad 15 of the Azure Dragon clan in Bloodbath Gorge. Yes. Foreign took a step forward as well as he acknowledged respectfully. Emmanuel, from today onward, you will be the captain of Squad 19 of the Azure Dragon clan in Bloodbath Gorge. Emmanuel also strode forward and assented. Very good. The Grand Elder nodded slightly, then looked at Arhouse. Arhouse, you can now lead Linley to the location of Squad 13. Afterwards, come back. I have an assignment for you. An assignment? Arhouse eyes lit up. First take Linley to his place. The Grand Elder ordered. Yes. Arhouse immediately turned and looked towards Linley, who nodded, then followed Arhouse away. As he left, Linley heard the Grand Elder's voice. Foreign, Emmanuel, you stay here. There's something I will discuss with you. And then, Linley and Arhouse left the Azure Dragon Palace. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 22, Comfort. Why did this Grand Elder have Foreign and Emmanuel stay behind? Linley felt suspicious. The Grand Elder, on the surface, said that we have to be unified, but in the end, Foreign is still her son and Emmanuel is still her grandson. It's unlikely that she'll be completely impartial. Whoosh! A cold wind blew past, interrupting Linley's pondering. Linley and Arhouse walked together on the stone road. There were quite a few courtyards on each side of the stone road, all seeming quite plain. Linley and Arhouse were both thinking on their own matters, and so didn't speak to each other. "Ah, Linley." Arhouse suddenly laughed. "I'm sorry. I was thinking about my assignment. I've been neglecting you." "It's fine," Linley said with amusement. "As long as you don't lead me the wrong way. Bloodbath Gorge is only so large. There's less than 1,000 people here, all combined. How could I get lost?" Arhe laughed. "Your Squad 13 has a total of 10 squad members, all experts of the clan. They are all at least at the 6-star fiend level, and some of them are approaching the 7-star fiend level." Arhouse warned, "Linley, don't underestimate them. After all, there isn't a huge difference between 6-star fiends and 7-star fiends." Linley nodded. For example, that Learmonth he had encountered in the Redbud continent was a 6-star fiend, but he was very nearly at the level of a 7-star fiend in power. Some are skilled in soul attacks, others specialize in material attacks, while still others specialize in escaping. Everyone has their own special techniques as well. Some rely on sound, others rely on venom. In short, 6-star fiends aren't necessarily weaker than 7-star fiends. As long as you lead them well and give good guidance and seize the weaknesses of the enemies, it's not impossible to overcome a deficit in power." Arhouse said. "Well spoken." Linley nodded in approval. For example, before he himself had undergone the ancestral baptism, he was capable of defeating a 7-star fiend who specialized in material attacks, but was afraid of 6-star fiends who specialized in soul attacks. Power wasn't an absolute concept. "Arhouse, look. The aura those warriors have is extraordinary." Linley saw that in the distance, there were 3 blood-robed warriors walking on the road. These 3 had callous, grim faces. Even when smiling, they made others feel great pressure. This was because experts like them were brimming with killing intent. The warriors of Bloodbath Gorge have all encountered countless life and death battles. Naturally, they will carry the aura of those battles with them. Arhouse said in praise. "We arrived at Squad 13. Arhouse suddenly said. Linley saw as well that up ahead, there was a stone pillar, atop which was carved the word, 13. At the sides of the stone pillar were carved names, quite a few of which were red. The names on top are those of the members of Squad 13 over the past 10,000 years. Arhouse said solemnly. A single squad usually has 10 squad members. Each time a squad member dies, they will be replaced. The deceased squad members will have their names turn red. Linley looked carefully at each of the names. Squad 13. Arhouse suddenly roared. Instantly, people came flying out from rooms nearby the stone pillar, each of them dressed in a blood-colored war uniform. In the blink of an eye, the 10 6-star fiend squad members had all arrived. Linley carefully looked at them. 8 men, 2 women. These 10, just judging from their aura alone, are all extraordinary. They feel like 10 Learmonths. Linley said to himself. When he had just entered the infernal realm, how could Linley have imagined that today, he would be commanding 10 6-star fiends? Elder Arhouse. A woman with short jade hair said. Who is this person by your side? The other 6-star fiends also looked at Linley in puzzlement. They clearly didn't recognize Linley. This is our Azure Dragon clan's newest elder, Linley. Arhouse said. He is also the captain of your Squad 13. Captain. The 10 6-star fiends looked at each other. He really is an elder? A man asked. Laughing, Linley flipped his hand, revealing a medallion. This was the elder's medallion he had received after becoming an elder. Upon seeing this medallion, the 10 squad members were no longer dubious. They all said respectfully, Captain. Any of the battle squads within Bloodbath Gorge had an elder as the captain. Thus, when they saw that Linley was an elder, they naturally recognized him as their captain. Captain, my name is Melina Maliana. The jade-haired woman laughed. I wonder, Captain, if you can demonstrate your ultimate technique to us. Linley was slightly startled, then glanced at the other 6 star fiends. None of them said anything, but from their gazes, it was apparent that they wanted Linley to give a demonstration. Linley mused to himself, it seems that soldiers in both the material planes as well as the higher planes are all the same. To be a good commander, you first have to be able to impress your subordinates. How could 6 star fiends not have their own pride? If they didn't personally witness Linley's power, how could they possibly submit willingly? You guys, our house laughed. Then I'll let you experience it for yourself. Linley laughed calmly. Immediately, a blurry, earthen yellow light sprang up, instantly forming a large globe of light that covered all 10 of the squad members within. Blackstone space. The sudden appearance of the Blackstone space caused the 10 6-star fiends to be caught completely off guard. 3 of them even swayed, nearly falling before hurriedly using their hands to push off the floor in order to stand back up. In the Blackstone space, even 6-star fiends would still sense that astonishing gravity. When you are under such tremendous pressure, tell me, would it be easy for me to kill you? Linley laughed calmly. The 10 squad members, having experienced that terrifying gravity, looked at each other then laughed. Captain. The 10 simultaneously fell to one knee, paying their respects to him. They completely submitted. Linley laughed, then withdrew his Blackstone space. You can all rise. Captain, this is wonderful. With your gravitational space, when fighting against enemies, we will have a huge advantage. A muscular man said excitedly. In the gravitational space, the enemy's movements will be restricted, but ours will not. Even if the enemy is a 7-star fiend, I'd still dare to give them a good fight. That the personal strength of the captain was strong wouldn't cause these squad members to be too excited. After all, the strength of the captain was a personal matter. What truly made them was when a captain was skilled at supportive techniques and able to assist all the squad members. Like Linley. As long as Linley didn't apply the gravitational space to them, they could easily battle against more powerful 7-star fiends. What is your name? Linley laughed as he looked at the muscular man in front of him. My name is Shanda Shanta. The muscular man immediately laughed. All of you, introduce yourselves to me. Linley laughed as he looked at his subordinates. From today onwards, as long as he wasn't dead, he would be the leader of this squad. They would battle together and share life and death together. Linley deeply valued these subordinates of his. These squad members were very excited as well, now that they had a captain whose ultimate technique was a supportive ability. They naturally were very exuberant in chatting with Linley. Linley. The nearby our house finally spoke out. Oh. Apologies. Linley immediately said. While chatting with them, I forgot that you, Elder Arhouse, were still here. Arhouse shook his head and laughed. It's fine. However, I can't stay here much longer. The Grand Elder has an assignment for me. I have to make a trip. Arhouse parted with Linley, who moved into the residence for the captain of Squad 13. From this day onward, Linley had to lead these 10 6-star fiends into battle against the 8 great clans. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, more than a year had passed. Within that gorge in the Skirite Mountains, Delia was resting against Linley's arm, leaning against him while the two took a stroll together. Linley looked at Delia by his side, and in his heart, a slow, gentle feeling emerged. Linley deeply enjoyed this sort of warm feeling. Linley, at first, I thought that when you became a captain at that bloodbath gorge, you would immediately go engage in battles and not have time to accompany me. So as it turns out, the battles are actually quite rare. Delia especially valued the time she and Linley had to spend together. The clan was in a crisis. Delia knew this, and she wouldn't force Linley to do anything. It was enough for her to value what they had. I've been a captain for a year now, but I haven't engaged in a single battle. Linley laughed calmly. Actually, the number of battles each squad in Bloodbath Gorge engages in is fairly low. Only, every single battle is against the top-tier experts of the enemy clans, and in each battle, life and death are separated by only a hair. We have 7 star fiends, but they do as well, and in fact, they have even more. We are in a position of weakness. Linley felt the pressure as well, while at the same time, he felt that he also wasn't doing right by Delia. Whether it was in the Yulon Plain or here in the Infernal Realm, Delia had always quietly supported him. Even as they roamed in every direction and faced one crisis after another, Delia had never complained. As long as I don't have any missions, I'll always be by your side. Linley said gently into Delia's ear, while at the same time he kissed her by her earlobe. Delia's face instantly turned slightly rosy. We're outdoors. Delia immediately looked around. She couldn't help but glare at Linley, her cheeks flushed. Linley just laughed. No matter what sort of battles or difficulties he encountered, when he was with Delia, Linley felt incredibly relaxed. With Delia here, his soul had a harbor to return to. The second year Linley was serving as the captain of Squad 13. Bloodbath Gorge didn't have too many requirements of its captains, who normally were able to live in other places throughout the Skirite Mountains. If there was an assignment, they naturally would be informed. As for those ordinary squad members, each year, they were permitted 1 month outside of the gorge. Elder! Elder! As Linley walked on the stone road within Bloodbath Gorge, quite a few blood-robed warriors called out to him respectfully upon seeing him. This was true for not just the Azure Dragon clan, but also the White Tiger clan, or the other 2 clans. In Bloodbath Gorge, they were all the same. After such a long period of time, they all recognized Linley. Our house. Linley saw, to his surprise, that in the distance, there was a familiar figure. Our house. Only, our house had a terrible look on his face. Linley immediately walked over, and our house saw Linley as well. Linley. Our house forced out a smile. Our house, it's been a year since I saw you. Your mission is complete. Linley laughed. The mission is complete. Our house let out a low sigh. What is it? Linley had a bad premonition. Our house glanced at Linley, a bitter look in his eyes. Linley, didn't you notice that this body is a divine wind clone? Right. Linley carefully scrutinized him, and our house sighed. The enemies for this mission were too powerful. Only 4 out of the 10 members of my Squad 6 are alive. The rest died. My most powerful clone, the Divine Water clone, was destroyed as well. Linley was stunned. The most powerful type of divine clone for the vast majority of the Azure Dragon clansmen was a Divine Water clone. If Linley had lived within the 4 Divine Beasts clan ever since he was young, he too would have undergone the ancestral baptism at an early age, and most likely he too would primarily train in water, and not in the earth, as he currently did. Then you, Linley didn't know what to say. My Divine Water clone is finished. What can I do? Our house shook his head. In the future, I won't be an elder any longer. I don't have that level of power. The reason I came today was to report this to the Grand Elder. When elders went forth to do battle, they would leave their useless divine clones behind. One reason was to be able to quickly provide intelligence reports to Bloodbath Gorge, the second was to preserve a life. Our house, don't be too dispirited. Linley didn't know what to say. Our house took a deep breath. What's there to be dispirited about? When I go back, I'll train hard. The day will come when my Divine Wind clone will become equally powerful. When that day comes, I'll go seek out that group of bastards once more. A savage light appeared in our house eyes. Linley, seeing the look on our house face, couldn't help but be astonished. Linley suddenly realized that with this constant cycle of revenge, the hatred between the 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 great clans was growing deeper and deeper. The experts of the 4 Divine Beasts clan were dying, but so too were the experts of the enemies. If this continued, the end result definitely would be a case where one side would be wiped out. Linley, in battle, you cannot show any mercy. These are not ordinary battles. Between our 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 great clans, there will never be a day of reconciliation. As soon as they have a chance, they will mercilessly kill you. Our house warned. Don't worry. Linley had come all the way from the Yulon plain. He knew what was an appropriate time to show mercy, and what was an appropriate time to be ruthless. To be merciful to the members of the 8 great clans was the same as being ruthless to his own clansmen. Elder Linley. A blood-robed warrior came running from afar. Linley turned to look. What is it? Linley didn't recognize this blood-robed warrior. The blood-robed warrior bowed respectfully. The Grand Elder is asking you to see her, Elder Linley. Linley felt a surge of excitement. He had been the captain of this Squad 13 for almost a year now, but this was the first time the Grand Elder had summoned him. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 23, Receiving the Order. Has a mission finally come? Linley turned to look at our house, saying apologetically, Our house, I need to go speak with the Grand Elder. Our house, his face solemn, immediately said, Linley, the Grand Elder won't summon you without a reason. For her to be summoning you now, there's a 90% chance it has to do with having you go do battle against the 8 great clans. Linley, you must be careful. The 8 great clans truly are formidable. They had been able to force the 4 Divine Beasts clan into a situation like this. If it hadn't been for the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture, the 4 Divine Beasts clan might even have been eradicated. How could the 8 great clans not be powerful? I will be careful. Linley laughed, then immediately turned and moved at high speed towards the Azure Dragon Palace of the Grand Elder. The blood-robed warrior immediately followed as well. Our house watched as Linley left, then softly said, Brother Linley, you have to make it back alive. Every single clan of the 4 Divine Beasts clans and the 8 great clans could be ranked amongst the top 20 clans of the entire infernal realm. So many ancient clans had moved here from other planes, gathering here to engage in a wild battle. This sort of large-scale battle between supreme clans was something which the 4 higher planes might not see even once in countless years. Experts against experts. In this sort of war, the true battles were primarily carried out by 6-star fiends and 7-star fiends. Battles at this level, generally speaking, how many experts on this level could a single clan have? After all, in the infernal realm, any clan that had a single 7-star fiend would be considered a formidable clan. However, in the battles between the 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 great clans, one 7-star fiend after another was killed, while 6-star fiends were killed in batches. This sort of vicious battle between supreme clans had stunned the countless clans of the infernal realm. They could do nothing but watch. Even a clan as powerful as the Bagshaw clan wouldn't dare to get involved. After all, the war was simply too brutal. As for someone as powerful as Linley, in this sort of large-scale war with no retreat, he would be one of the 7-star fiends that would engage in blood-soaked battle for the Azure Dragon clan. The Azure Dragon Palace. The 5th floor's main hall. A long black robe. Loose azure hair. A silver mask. This was the Grand Elder of the Azure Dragon clan. The Grand Elder's body seemed quite tall and slender. She sat there quietly, not moving at all. There was no way to tell what she was thinking. A long time later. It's time to let him gain some experience. The Grand Elder let out a slow sigh. Suddenly, the Grand Elder turned her head to look at the door. Hearing footsteps ring out, she then saw Linley stride in. Upon seeing the Grand Elder, Linley immediately saluted respectfully. Linley greets the Grand Elder. Linley. Sit. The Grand Elder said calmly. Linley immediately saluted, then sat down. Linley, you have been the captain of Squad 13 for more than a year now, right? The Grand Elder said. Yes, Grand Elder. Linley replied. The Grand Elder's voice turned gentle. Do you know that after you defeated Emmanuel and were promoted to the rank of Elder by the Patriarch and I have been in earnest discussions regarding you? Linley was stunned. At this moment, the voice of the Grand Elder was very friendly. This couldn't help but cause Linley to feel puzzled. The Grand Elder was usually always quite cold and emotionless. Why was she like this today? Can it also be because of the Coiling dragon ring? Linley said to himself. The Coiling dragon ring was the sole protecting sovereign artifact of the sovereign Azure Dragon. Originally, the Patriarch wanted to let you continue to train. After all, given your current accomplishments, if you reach the high god level, you will definitely become yet another trump card our clan has. The Grand Elder sighed. Currently, you are only a 7-star fiend. You can't be considered a trump card yet. Trump card. Linley looked at the Grand Elder. If he were to train to the high god level, first of all, his soul would undergo a qualitative change. Not only would his soul defense strengthen yet again, even his Blackstone space and his Dragon Roar would rise dramatically in power. When we say trump cards, we refer to experts who have surpassed ordinary 7-star fiends, and are comparable to the Azuras of the Infernal Realm or the Commanders of Purgatory. The Grand Elder said. Linley nodded. The Infernal Azuras and the Purgatory Commanders were indeed far mightier than most 7-star fiends. For example, Rice Gem. Linley had just learned the Blackstone space from him, and had consequently become so powerful. But if Rice Gem himself had used the technique. Also, the Purgatory Commander who was behind the Bagshaw clan, Mosi. He was able to easily defeat Lomeo, whose power had already approached the Azura level. The Infernal Realms Azuras, the Commanders of Purgatory, each and every one of them was a terrifyingly powerful opponent. They were all very close to being at the very peak of possible power for high gods. In our Azure Dragon clan, only 3 people, throughout all these countless years, have been considered trump cards. The Grand Elder said. Aside from myself and the Patriarch, the only other one is that genius Elder. Blue Bulletin Ludot. Elder Blue. Linley knew this person as well. He himself had been publicly acknowledged by the many elders as having the 4th most powerful body in the Azure Dragon clan. The first and the second most powerful bodies naturally belonged to the Patriarch and the Grand Elder. As for the third, that was their genius Elder, Blue. Blue's might was utterly unquestionable. A true trump card cannot have any weaknesses, be it in material defense or spiritual defense. On this foundation of having no weaknesses, one then needs to have an ultimate technique that can allow one to dominate the infernal realm. This is what a trump card is. The Grand Elder shook her head. You are currently just a god. Although by relying on the Azure Dragon Ring, you are able to make up for the difference in soul strength, I imagine that the Azure Dragon Ring should be a damaged one, and so you still have a flaw. Linley nodded. Thus, your weakness is your soul defense. After all, in terms of quality, your soul strength is just at the god level. The Grand Elder shook her head as she spoke. Only once you become a high god can you be considered as flawless. When the Patriarch saw you. The Grand Elder's voice contained a hint of joy. He knew that our clan would in the future have our 4th trump card. Linley couldn't help but laugh. Naturally, he felt happy upon hearing praise. Only, Linley also knew that he would only in the future become the 4th trump card. The Grand Elder glanced at Linley, then sighed softly. Unfortunately, you aren't a high god. Linley didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. He said to himself, Grand Elder, do you know that if it hadn't been for your grandson Emmanuel, I would only have gone out to do battle after training to the high god level. In addition, it had been Foreign who had used verbal traps to force him to go to Bloodbath Gorge. Linley had no choices. "Linley, how is your soul defense?" the Grand Elder asked. "Even if I encounter 7-star fiends skilled in soul attacks, I would dare do battle against them," Linley said very proudly, but then he said with resignation, "But of course, if I were to encounter a super expert who is extremely skilled in soul attacks, then I won't be able to fight. For example, the Purgatory Commander Mosi. This person was able to control the souls of even 7-star fiends. Soul attacks as powerful as his definitely weren't manageable for the likes of Linley. If that's the case, that's good enough." The Grand Elder's voice contained a hint of exuberance. "In order to make things safer, you can go ambush the forces of the Barbary clan. Actually, only against their forces will you have an above 90% chance of survival." Above 90% chance of survival? And only against the Barbary clan? Linley couldn't help but feel speechless. His body was tough, and his soul wasn't weak either. There shouldn't be many capable of killing him. "Linley." The Grand Elder's forehead furrowed, and she shouted, "You must be careful, careful. You can't be the slightest bit negligent or lax. Every single 7-star fiend which engages in battle in this war between our 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 great clans can be considered one of the top experts of the entire infernal realm. We have our trump cards, but the 8 great clans have their own as well. The Patriarch and I are both confident in our ability to easily kill you," the Grand Elder said coldly. "The 8 great clans also have supreme experts who are comparable to us in power." Linley's heart trembled. This was a rude awakening. Ever since his ancestral baptism, he did seem to have been a bit excessively overconfident. He forgot the old saying, no matter how tall a mountain is, there is always a taller one somewhere. Who were his foes? They were supreme clans who had come in pursuit from other planes, and there were 8 of them in total. Behind the Bagshaw clan was the Purgatory Commander, Mosi. The Azure Dragon clan also had the Patriarch, the Grand Elder, and other such supreme experts. Could it be the 8 great clans didn't? How powerful did their foes have to be able to force the 4 Divine Beasts clan to the point of needing the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture to intervene? Your potential is tremendous. Thus, I don't dare send you to carry out the most dangerous tasks. In the 8 great clans, only the Barbary clan that comes from the Divine Water Plane is unspecialized in soul attacks," the Grand Elder said. "The others, such as the Bullen clan from the Celestial Realm, or the Chanel clan of the Divine Fire Plane, or the Ashcroft clan of the Netherworld, many of the experts of these clans are extremely proficient in soul attacks." Linley's forehead began to be matted with sweat. Most of the experts of the Bullen clan trained in the Edicts of Fate. When Linley had just arrived in Indigo Prefecture, he had personally watched those experts of the Bullen clan easily kill a group of high gods. Can't be overconfident. Can't be overconfident. The enemies are extremely strong, this time, Linley reminded himself. Against ordinary clans or the ordinary experts of the infernal realm, he was indeed strong enough to be arrogant and proud. A 7-star fiend? Yes, he was quite powerful. But in this war between the 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 great clans, this bit of power he had was only enough for him to participate. There were many who were more powerful than he was. The Barbary clan stems from the Divine Water Plane, and thus specializes in the elemental laws of water. The elemental laws of water are not very suited for soul attacks, but their soul defenses and physical defenses are all exceedingly powerful, the Grand Elder said. But as I see it, you have an advantage over them. Linley nodded. As long as the opponents didn't specialize in soul attacks, he still had some degree of confidence. But you cannot be too overconfident. For example, our Azure Dragon clan also produced someone like you, who specializes in the laws of the earth. It is possible that perhaps this Barbary clan has also produced an expert who specializes in soul attacks. The Grand Elder warned yet again. Understood. How could Linley dare to continue to be overconfident? With a flip of her hand, the Grand Elder retrieved a large map, and began to point out directions on the map. As the Grand Elder continued to explain, Linley completely understood what this mission was about. Linley, leave behind a divine clone here at Bloodbath Gorge, just in case. The Grand Elder said. Right. Linley nodded. Then Grand Elder, I'll go summon my forces. Go. The Grand Elder nodded. Linley directly flew out from the 5th floor's window, leaving the Azure Dragon Palace and heading to the residences of Squad 13. The Grand Elder watched as Linley flew away, and then she said softly. The clan doesn't have enough time. We have to let Linley go participate in battle. Perhaps in the middle of the war, he will make breakthroughs faster. All members of Squad 13, assemble. We have a mission. Linley flew to a location directly above the residences of Squad 13, then shouted. Immediately, one figure after another shot out. Instantly, all 10 of them were assembled. Those people who saw from afar that Squad 13 was assembling all silently prayed for them. Every single time a squad was sent out for a mission, they were dancing between life and death. Currently, Squad 13 was fully manned, but after this mission was concluded, who knew how many would remain? Captain, we have a mission. That jade-haired woman said in surprise. Right. Make your preparations. We're about to head out immediately. Linley said. At the same time, another Linley flew out from his body, entering the captain's residence. It looked like just a single divine clone, but in reality, this divine clone had 2 other divine clones within it. Linley was only taking a single divine clone on the mission. We're about to start again. The 10 squad members all had solemn looks on their faces, and most of them also made their divine clones fly out from their bodies and return to their residences. Linley looked at these 10, then said calmly, remember. On this assignment, you must completely obey my orders. I hope that just like how there were 11 of us when we set off, when we return, we will still number 11. Yes, Captain. The 10 replied in unison. Move out. Linley immediately took to the skies, flying directly south. The 10 6-star fiends followed tightly behind him. The first mission for Squad 13 after Linley had become a captain was finally beginning. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 24, Give Me a Ride. Linley was dressed in a sky blue robe. As he moved through the skies, the long robe fluttered, ruffled by the wind. Behind him, those 10 6-star fiends were also dressed in uniforms of various colors. While engaging in battle outside, if they were all dressed in the same uniform, it would be too obvious and would result in them being easily discovered by the enemy. Everyone, be careful. Our target this time is a squad of the Barbary clan. No matter what, don't let them discover us. Just fly close to the ground. Linley instructed, while at the same time, he himself flew downwards, moving close to the surface of the ground. The 10 squad mates followed suit. Don't worry, Captain. We won't go out of our way to engage in battle. They won't be able to find out. Melina laughed. Go out of their way to engage in battle? Linley couldn't help but think back to some information the Grand Elder had given him before battle had begun. Both the 4 Divine Beasts clan as well as the 8 great clans used ambushes, and also laid in wait for the enemy to draw near. If, for example, the 4 Divine Beasts clan didn't want to fight, they would simply hide in the Skirite Mountains, and there would be nothing the 8 great clans could do about it. If the 8 great clans remained in their own territory and didn't come out, the 4 Divine Beasts clan wouldn't go to them either. However, the 8 great clans hated the 4 Divine Beasts clan to the core, and the reverse was true as well. Thus, they intentionally challenged each other to battle, time and time again. Neither side would hide. Both sides knew that this was a war of attrition, but the 8 great clans were willing to engage in this sort of war, while the 4 Divine Beasts clan was too proud and unwilling to submit. The 8 great clans is quite interesting. Each time, they'll take predefined routes. This is just a naked challenge. Linley said to himself. Of the 8 great clans, 4 of them were located at the eastern edges of Indigo Prefecture, while 4 were at the western edges of Indigo Prefecture. They were all very unified. They were worried that if they split up, the 4 Divine Beasts clan would break them one by one. But by dividing up in this manner, there was no way the 4 Divine Beasts clan would be able to do so. In addition, the 8 great clans on each side of Indigo Prefecture would often send squads of experts on round-trip patrols. Each trip, they would take one of 2 predefined routes. Any members of the 4 Divine Beasts clan they met on the way would be killed. Sometimes, they would even engage in ambushes at the outer perimeter of the Skirite Mountains. How could my 4 Divine Beasts clan possibly swallow this sort of provocation? They are so arrogant as to take predetermined routes. If we just accept this, the 4 Divine Beasts clan will become a laughingstock. Linley understood that in their battles, the enemies were the proactive challengers. After all, their experts were simply too numerous. After flying for roughly 3 days, Linley's group reached their destination, an intelligence outpost located near the predetermined route. Linley glanced at a distant sand dune, which wasn't very remarkable in this desolate, barren area. "You can come out," Linley said calmly. This intelligence outpost had been provided by the Grand Elder. The sand dune twisted, and then a figure emerged from within it. It was a very slender, yellow-robed youth. The yellow-robed youth, momentarily puzzled, glanced at Linley, who with a laugh, extended his hand, revealing the Elder's medallion within. "Greetings, Elder," the youth said hurriedly. "When will the forces of the Barbary clan arrive?" Linley asked. This intelligence outpost relied on using some special methods, as well as 2 divine clones in separate locations, to be able to quickly provide intelligence reports. This allowed intelligence reports to be transmitted very quickly. Even over a distance of 100 million kilometers, the receiver would have the information as soon as the sender sent it. To be precise, it is presumed forces of the Barbary clan, the intelligence agent said. The presumed forces of the Barbary clan are still millions of kilometers away. Based on their advancing speed, in 1 or 2 days, they will arrive here. Linley nodded. "You said, presumed. Can it be that you are not yet completely certain that it is the forces of the Barbary clan?" Linley asked, rather concerned. "There's no way to be absolutely certain. That squad, according to our intelligence reports, is primarily made up of water-type experts, but there are 2 who are not. We are only able to provisionally identify them as members of the Barbary clan, but it is also possible that this is a joint squad formed from 2 clans," the youth said. Linley frowned. A mixed squad? This was exceedingly rare. This was because the elders of the 4 Divine Beasts clan generally carried a drop of Sovereign's might on them. Once they no longer cared about life and death and activated that drop of Sovereign's might and went all out, even a 7-star fiend opponent would be doomed. Thus, the enemy preferred to fight one-on-one. Only in a special circumstance, for example when the target was a patriarch or Grand Elder level figure, would they send out a joint squad. "You can stand down for now," Linley instructed. "The rest of you, follow me." Linley flew into the air, and the 10 6-star fiends followed. The intelligence agent raised his head, watching them fly away. In his heart, he murmured, "Clansmen, you must win." As an intelligence agent, he too walked that fine line between life and death. If he were to be discovered by the enemies wouldn't hesitate at all to kill him. In addition, most of these intelligence agents were very weak. Their only hope was that experts like Linley would avenge them if they were killed. A few thousand kilometers away from the intelligence outpost, Linley's group came to a halt, hiding themselves within a mountain forest. Everyone had very grave expressions on their faces. They all knew that once the battle started, they would very possibly die. "Captain, when the enemies come, what is our plan?" the big fellow, Shonda, asked. The other squadmates looked at Linley as well. "The first target is the enemy's 7-star fiend." Linley laughed calmly. "Ambushing is pointless. Given their divine sense, they'll be able to locate us. You just need to wait here. Once the enemies draw near, you can fly into my Blackstone space and begin battle against them." "Us, fly in?" Immediately, some squadmates grasped Linley's meaning. "Captain, you aren't going to attack alongside us." If they were to remain together, Linley would naturally include them within the Blackstone space, and thus there was no need for them to fly in. "Right. I'll go ambush them." Linley laughed. "What?" The 10 people were shocked. "Captain, you can't risk yourself like that. It's better if we stay together." "How can you attack by yourself? It is too risky. Even if the 10 of us die, you can't die, Captain." A skinny man said hurriedly. 7-star fiends were extremely precious to the clan. They represented a mighty pillar supporting the clan. "Don't worry. By attacking by myself, I have more than 90% confidence of success." Linley laughed. "Huh." The 10 squadmates were stunned. "As I will be hiding my aura, they'll only take me to be a god. They won't be on guard against me," Linley said. Indigo Prefecture was like other places, there were many tribes to be seen everywhere. Gods were very common in the infernal realm. Linley's group, while flying over, had encountered quite a few gods and demigods. Naturally, they didn't pay them any mind. "They won't care about me, but when I draw near to them, I'll launch a sudden attack against them. This will definitely have an extraordinarily good effect," Linley said confidently. "Captain." That Melina said worriedly. "Based on what we can see, you are indeed just a god. Your aura hiding abilities are indeed formidable. But the enemies are 7-star fiends as well. There might be one of them who is capable of detecting your true power, that you are a high god." The fact that Linley really was just a god was something which only a very, very small number of people in the entire Azure Dragon clan knew about. For example, the Patriarch and the Grand Elder had discovered this on their own. As for others, even Emmanuel believed Linley to be a high god who had previously been hiding his power. "Discover my true power? Discover that I'm a high god." Linley laughed. He himself really was a god. Why would he need to hide his aura? "Don't worry. The enemy won't find out," Linley said with supreme confidence. Immediately, another squad member said worriedly, "Captain, you can't risk yourself like this. We should join forces and attack together. If we work together, we can still." "Enough." Linley frowned. "I've made up my mind. Stop talking." The 10 squadmates looked at each other, but they had no choice but to accept resignedly. Linley was the captain. At a time like this, they had to obey the orders of their captain. This was a basic requirement. "You stay here. I'll be 10 kilometers away," Linley instructed. "At such a short distance, once the battle starts, you'll notice it right away. You can immediately hurry to my location. In addition, their divine sense won't be able to locate you. Generally speaking, the divine sense of a high god only extended to 1,000 meters or so. Even a 7-star fiend was limited to just a few thousand meters. But normally, would they extend their divine sense to the maximum range? Even in a battle squad, the 7-star fiend leader would generally just extend his divine sense to 1,000 meters, to guarantee a degree of safety. Remember, once battle begins, immediately come. But before it begins, you are not to draw near," Linley snapped. The 10 were all worried for Linley. Do you understand? Linley roared. Yes, Captain. The 10 affirmed. Linley then flew towards a section of the road in front of them. Captain, be careful. A voice rang out from behind. Linley couldn't help but chuckle. He immediately flew over 10 kilometers, where there was a small, squat mountain. Linley dug a cave into the side of the tunnel, then entered it. Within the cave, he was able to stare at the skies outside through the cave entrance. I'll just pretend to be an ordinary god. Linley laughed. Linley was completely confident in this ambush. It would be a strange thing if they were able to see through it. After all, he really was a god. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, a day had gone by. Swoosh! Linley discovered a human figure flying over at high speed. It was that intelligence agent. In the short span of a day, the intelligence agent had already made multiple reports regarding the location of the enemy. Elder, the enemies are about to arrive. They are currently less than 10,000 kilometers from here. The youth said hurriedly. Elder, remember clearly that the enemies are riding a metallic life form shaped into a jade-green serpent. Less than 10,000 kilometers. Linley was startled into full alert. A metallic life form of a squad of the 8 great clans advanced fairly quickly, capable of traveling 4 or 5 million kilometers in a day. Less than 10,000 kilometers would be traversed in a short period of time. Hurry up and inform the others. Linley immediately instructed. Yes, Elder. The intelligence agent, knowing that battle was coming, immediately flew away. Linley immediately flew out of his cave. Walking in the mountain forests by oneself was a fairly dangerous thing in the infernal realm, because other deities would often be encountered. But Linley wanted this to happen, because this made him all the more unremarkable in the infernal realm. An enormous green serpent flew through the air. It was the metallic life form. Elder, do you think the 4 divine beasts clan will dare ambush us this time? The metallic life form had more than 10 people. Ambush us? The elder was a bald man, very tall and powerful, at least 3 meters in height. The other squad members were all very tall, the shortest being 2.5 meters. This was caused by the special lineage of the Barbary clan. The eyes of the elder gleamed with green light, and he laughed. This time, we have Mr. Mosley Mouse Lee accompanying us. I am specialized in material attacks, while he is specialized in soul attacks. No matter who comes, there is no way they will escape with their life. Cole Kaluo, I trust that your Barbary clan will be able to dispose of anyone without needing me to interfere. The speaker was a balding old man who was dressed in a plain grey robe. His ear had 2 little serpents coiled through them. Kid, you, a mere god, dare to roam about in the infernal realm? Hurry up, hand over your interspatial ring. In front of Linley, more than 10 bandits had appeared. There were simply too many bandits in the infernal realm. Even though Linley had worked hard to avoid them, in the end, he had still run into some. Interspatial ring. Linley pretended to be terrified. Okay, I'll give it to you. Haha, not bad. Those bandits, seeing how obedient Linley was, were very happy. One of them laughed, we are in a benevolent mood and will spare your life. However, you have to join us. If you do not, I'll join. Linley hurriedly nodded. Right at this moment, in the distant skies, an enormous green serpent was flying over at high speed. Linley was overjoyed. This was the metallic life form of the enemy. Why haven't you handed the interspatial ring over yet? A bandit shouted. Swoosh! Linley suddenly charged into the skies. The bandits were astonished, but then, enraged, they chased into the skies as well. The metallic life form flew past, and as Linley rose into the heavens, he just so happened to draw near as well. The 6 star fiends and 7 star fiends within couldn't help but be rather unhappy. Mother of Asterisker, a group of bandits are causing trouble. They actually charged all the way over to us. They had already discovered that the people below them consisted of gods. They weren't worried at all. Milords, please, save me. Help, give me a ride. These people want to kill me. Linley immediately flew to the side of that metallic life form, his face filled with terror and panic. F***ck off. A 6-star fiend immediately shouted.